peak gaming mean? Defeat the famous #1 player. The pack player, who was in first place, was again killed in a matter of seconds by the beam player. It exploded with fireworks. Break a record that has stood for years? The commentator shouted, God Lucian broke Combo's record, which had been held by Shadow Chaos for many years. The combo is still going on. The limit has not yet been reached. Chen looked into the distance with a malicious look and asked a question, Shadow Chaos, how much does he think he can beat the record? Monster looked at him with the same look. A lot of sparks happened, and the commentator shouted, 250 combo. 250. Chen put away the sword, and the man continued to scream, terrified, 250 combo is the health limit of Shadow Chaos. But God's health is not the limit. The strong will be defeated, the record will be broken. So what does this peak mean? Lucian was congratulated on his victory in the game of the strongest. He was given a statuette as the best Linksy warrior. He was congratulated on being inducted into the Hall of Fame. He is the youngest member of the Hall of Fame. Glory, fame, wealth. And before that incident, he suffered severe brain damage. His nerve response now has a 3-second delay. Now he has no chance in his sports. In front of him began ridicule from weaklings and losers. The system warned him about an error. It was impossible to answer. The Zhulong Guild withdrew the summons request and sent a public letter of apology. Public humiliation from the vanquished, persecution, destruction, and hunting. Betrayal, account deletion, leaving the game. Should he give up and give up? He doesn't want to fail. The system reports, Linksy is closed, the Heavenly Order is already here. Today at 12 o'clock, the Heavenly Order is released. Beyond the scope of the Linksy project, more game professions, new game modes. How can one be delighted if he is not here for a fierce battle? Heavenly Order Online. Not wanting to fail, he put his helmet back on and set off. 10 professions, you need to unlock the hidden profession of the Death Knight. At the beginning, they didn't give any points. He went out to the cemetery, and his body turned into a skeleton. He looked at his hands and said, he is now truly the living dead. After some time, Chen climbed the stairs and wondered what was happening to him. His head was splitting from pain, his clothes were all torn to shreds, there seemed to be no injuries. Where is he located? He doesn't remember anything at all, but he feels like he can't give up. June 30, 2035. Dream Star Residential Complex, door 502. He entered home and sighed deeply with relief. Suddenly, he saw a box in front of the door and wondered, is this what he lost when moving? He leaned against the wall and said that he didn't think his boss would help him with his search. He took the box in his hands and thought, even if these are just useless photo albums, there are a lot of memories associated with this. He placed the box on the table and began to open it, gradually taking out the tape, but as he opened it, he saw a cup and a royalty card, as well as a photograph with some people in bright light. He wondered in bewilderment, what? This is for first place on a journey across the sea of stars. Chen saw Park in the photo and wondered how he was doing. Looking back at the past, he realizes that these are truly valuable memories. He looked at the photo with a smile. This was the starting point of his esports career. 5 years ago, China, the nation's hub for esports. A tall, fair-haired Puck came on stage and told the audience that he was very glad to come here. He even learned a couple of phrases in Chinese. But the first day of the competition disappointed him. Their level of play is boring. Here he was met with failure. People began to talk among themselves, and he asked with a grin in English, what? He didn't understand anything. Park Han is a player on a journey across the Sea of Stars and South Korea, incredible power. The surrounding people began to show their displeasure and shout at him. What did he say? Yes, he will personally take it out in a second. Shameless. Does he really think that he is invincible with such and such results? The presenter, who was on stage, was taken aback when the pack grabbed the microphone from him and began to answer the dissatisfied people with a menacing look. It seems that they guys are very confident in themselves. He pointed his finger in their direction and said, since they are so confident in themselves, he will gladly re-educate them. Bunch of idiots. He threw the microphone back to the presenter and asked him to translate everything verbatim for them. He caught the microphone and thought with a saddened look about how much he wanted to resign. He began to translate the words again. There is a big difference between what they think and reality. If they are not satisfied with his words, then he will gladly accept the challenge of someone from the audience, and he hopes that they will resolve this issue in a civilized manner. The people in the hall were in a state of shock and lowered their gazes in fear. The guy in the cap named Dushisen picked up the phone on which his words were recorded that they were a bunch of idiots, and he would re-educate them. And San said, what a horror. He knew that the translator was lying to them. Someone shouted, Rayon, you need to wipe that smile off his face. He replied, no, that's not interesting. Shisang asked him not to be a coward. What if he takes him out to dinner if he wins? Lu Chen spoke back, then let him feed him twice. They shook hands and Chen stood up from his seat. The people around him began to support him and shout for him to win. The presenter said that we need to pay attention to this because someone has left. This is a freshman student at University S, and he is ready to take on the challenge. He began to walk towards the stage, and the people around him looked at him in surprise and began to discuss. Some girl asked for his description and realized that she had already heard about him somewhere. Another guy asked the question, "Who is he?" Another one looked at him and said he saw him in the arena. "Is this a freshman? Isn't he too young?" He approached the pack, who with a proud look asked not to overestimate himself. Chen yawned and picked up the headphones, and when he put it on his head, he said that he would quickly sort everything out and go eat. Someone shouted, "This guy is from a famous sports university. Many industry leaders graduated from the University S." He began to quickly finger the keys. They are looking forward to an exciting match. The competition is about to begin. The pack player did not use the provided game mechanics of Rank A and immediately switched to mechanics of Rank S. The player simply must choose from the library of Rank A mechanics. Otherwise, wow, he didn't pay attention to the library at all and chose an S rank mechanic. How shameless this is. A worthy player for his country. He's not going to lose. The pack player activated a pillar of fire. The player has deftly dodged the enemy's killing blow. Puck tensed and his facial expression changed to one of shock, and he said in his thoughts several times that this was impossible. The commentator continued to discuss. Having dodged the attack, he immediately attacks back. This guy is just something. He destroyed an S-rank core with one blow of his sword. Puck hit the chair with his fist and shouted angrily, once again. Lu sat with a calm expression at the computer desk and was silent. The host shouted, "The pack returned to the game again with an S-rank robot. We need to stop." The player pack was destroyed again. This happened in just 9 seconds. It's an instant kill. Puck screamed again. A bright flash of light filled the area, and the presenter shouted, "The player's pack was again torn apart like New Year's fireworks." He kept screaming one more time. He did this many times and did not give up, looking shocked. Lu yawned again and said again, for the 5th time already. He doesn't have time, he wants to eat. He got up from his seat and walked onto the stage. The presenter handed him the microphone and spoke. The pack player considered him a technically strong player. He has a lot of experience in fighting, right? The people around him shouted with pride, "Incredible. Cool. We need to continue in the same spirit. Boy, he's really cool. Then why has he never seen him compete?" Lu answered no. Today he plays for the first time. He became an adult only 2 months ago, so he only recently joined the computer club. Until yesterday, he didn't know how to play. Pack's face distorted, and he swore obscenely. People started shouting to him in triumph, "Well done, guy. He's very good. This is an incredible game for the first time. He is a real king, the new king of the battle arena. Now he is their future in esports. Handsome. Maybe he'll look at the camera here. This is very cool." Shisang filmed him while those around him cheered. Since then, he has become an esports star. He later learned that Park H1 retired due to psychological problems. Famous, he chose the popular game of Grief and took ID dust. He has successfully started his journey to dominate his country's esports scene, and with this trophy out of the box, it is his first trophy in the game of sorrow. He took it in his hands and said that this was their first competition against each other. Final for the title of best player in Grief. Someone screamed during a fierce battle, and this is the power of a Hall of Fame player. This is simply incredible. The battle of two great gods is in full swing. It is difficult to predict the outcome of the battle. Many bright sparks appeared around the sword. There will be no tricks in this battle, only a battle of sword and flesh. The competition between such professionals is much more exciting. Bright flashes of light continued to emanate everywhere, red dragon flames. People got scared and started screaming, "There he is!" He used Dragon Flame Strike. Everyone was shocked by what was happening, and Lu Chen used magical powers against his opponent and calmly dealt with this attack. It was his turn to strike. He swung his sword and glared at his opponent with furious eyes, using the powers of the mountain sword dance. Someone shouted, "You need to look at this. This is the most complex technique of mountain sword dance performed by Lu Chen." He rushed to attack. 60-70. The number of combos continues to grow. Chen looked at his opponent and asked how he thinks he will be able to break his record this time. The enemy looked at him with shining eyes, and the commentator screamed with horror in his eyes. The mountain sword dance continues to cause damage. 197 combos. He beat the last record of 196 combos. The limit has not yet been exhausted. It continues. He swung his sword in different directions with quick and sharp movements. The protection is torn. Lewin fails to handle the mountain sword dance combo. Combo increased to 250. Already 250. A new champion was born today. 250 combo attacks is a new record, but clearly not its limit. Before their eyes, a new king was born, a new legend. They congratulate Luchin for being named the best player in Sorrow. It seems that this was their only official battle, who knew, but they will write on the trophy the number of combos they made. They end up being trophies for his combo rather than for him. He remembers how they laughed at him because of this. He picked up the red award and said, having carefully examined it, thanks to his records he entered the Hall of Fame. Making history as the youngest member of the Hall of Fame, he made the front page of the newspaper every day. It's a pity that life is a fickle thing. He had so much fun, but now he's somehow embarrassed because of it. If it weren't for that accident. He was told that recovery was going very well. He managed to recover from such a serious accident in just 6 months. But his nervous system leaves much to be desired. His nervous response has a 3-second delay. This will not affect everyday life, but it will affect high intellectual activities definitely. After damage to his nerve cells, he began to have problems and his rating began to fall. He ended up in 100th place. One of the players said, there are only 100 people in the Hall of Fame, and here he is in place 98. Will he be given a new certificate? Chen walked past them, looking with a sad look, and the player said in fear, what a horror. He looked at them. The other one spoke, and so what? Not rated higher than him. Yes, and there are 3 of them. After a car accident, he turned into a clown and the cause of everyone's ridicule. The players warily grabbed their weapons in their hands and looked at them with a malicious look, saying that they were scared. But you can't blame them. He turned away and walked in an unknown direction, and they told him to get out of here. Ancient Sword Guild. Chen went inside and screamed in horror. What a horror! Was the guild robbed? What happened to the building? Boss? A girl with a bow weapon in her hand came out to him and said that she was here. Chen asked what happened to this place. She replied that some members of the guild, fearing persecution, decided to leave the guild. They beat, robbed, and destroyed everything they could get their hands on. They were worse than the enemy guild. This girl is the deputy head of the Ancient Sword Guild. He bowed his head and asked, Boss, how is she? She replied that he shouldn't worry about it, everything was fine. He said, regarding his request for withdrawal of funds, maybe if he leaves, then these enemies will leave the dream soul of the ancient sword alone. She said in response, what nonsense is he talking about? He is one of the founders of the ancient sword dream soul. She touched his shoulder and continued to say, out of the 4 stars of the sun, moon, and dust, they cannot lose even one. Their goal is him, as well as the ancient sword of the soul's sleep. Their guild was too famous back then. The fastest way to become the new king is to defeat the old one. Too many people want to step on their bones and take the throne. By the way, yes, yesterday, someone sent him an invitation to a competition on behalf of the guild. He asked again, Chaos of Candle Shadows. She answered, yes, exactly. Chen said he was rejecting it. He wouldn't be able to overcome it now. She spoke back, okay, she will decline the call on behalf of the guild. Suddenly, the system window reported an error that it could not be rejected. The Dragon Candle Guild withdrew the challenge request and sent a public letter of apology. He was surprised, and with a questioning expression on his face asked, is something wrong, boss? She spoke back, the senior manager of the Dragon Candle Guild withdrew his request and will issue a public letter of apology. He asked again in bewilderment, a letter. With apologies? But to whom? She looked at him with a sad expression and answered them. They believe that he does not have enough qualifications to compete with the Chaos of Candle Shadows. This will only reduce the value of the Chaos of Candle Shadows. They believe that accidentally summoning Candle Shadow Chaos had some impact on their ancient Sword Dream Soul Guild and apologized to them. The letter was sent more than 1,000,000 times in the game. That is, everyone is aware of it. After that, she turned to him and asked about his well-being. He silently looked at the floor, but suddenly made a joyful expression on his face and said, okay. If there is nothing else, he will continue clearing the dungeon. He walked down the stairs while his boss looked after him with a feeling of deep sadness. After the apology letter incident, which was joint pressure led by the Dragon Candle Guild, the Ancient Sword's dream soul completely sank to the bottom. His esports career also came to an end. In the end, he and the boss burned the 7 Dragon Meadows before their guild closed, and then deleted their accounts and left the game. He wiped his head with a towel and said with a grin, this is comfortable. This was their way of expressing the dissatisfaction of the ancient sword dream soul. He looked at his watch and saw that the hand was at 7, and realized that he could use the computer before going to bed. Loading lag is very slow. He grinned and spoke, his delay also quite slow. Again in the forum title. He began to move the computer mouse across the table, but suddenly he noticed something was wrong and said this. Finally discovered it. They all left the game, and there are still 100,000 comments cursing him. If it weren't for him, the guys who chased him tirelessly back then, he wouldn't have burned the 7 Dragon Meadows like that. He leaned back in his chair and thought about the fact that it was very difficult for him, after which he grinned and said why he began to look through the forum again, he had better go to bed. He saw the box under the table and said, "This is the Heavenly Order gaming helmet, sent especially for the Hall of Fame by the Yahello Group Company. Been persecuted for so long that I even forgot how I am a member of the Hall of Fame. I need to unpack this." In the end, the Heavenly Order was awarded as a masterpiece that transcends mental pain. The system window says, "Spiritual pain is closed, the Heavenly Order is here, release at 12 o'clock at night." A design that masterfully surpasses spiritual pain, more game classes, new gameplay modes. How can he be happy if he is not present at such a fierce battle? The level here is higher than in spiritual pain, VFX and graphics are more advanced. But this slogan, game professions, how can one be delighted if he did not come to a fierce battle? How can he be excited if he's not here? He put on his headphones and heard a voice call from Shisan, whom he greeted and asked him a question. What does he want from him in the middle of the night? He shouted back, "Where is he?" His phone is off. There is no connection on WeChat either. "What's happening?" He replied that he had forgotten and did not know where he had gone. Shisan asked him again, "Did you forget?" He is drunk. Spiritual pain has been closed, but there is no need to pay attention to such grief. What they lost, they will regain with the help of the Heavenly Order. He asked again, "Heavenly Order?" He gave up so he can go to the Heavenly Order himself. Shisan asked again, "Did he give up?" "Stop joking like that, guy. Is he still the Ray he knows?" Chen spoke back, "He is like this now. How can he play? Does he want to be humiliated again? If he has nothing more to say, then let him hang up." Shisan got very angry and shouted at him to put something heavy on his head. He is the debutant who tore apart the Hanwang Park, beat the chaos of the Candle Shadows. He is the youngest member of the Lucan Hall of Fame. He's gonna give up just like that. Does he really want this? Chen answered him through gritted teeth. So what? What does he even know? Shizen shouted back, he knows that when he is bullied, he must fight back. He saw how the guild, which only had 5 members left, was eventually persecuted and abandoned the game. They really want to end it this way. Lu Chen, he must say something. The first spiritual pain warrior to accept the challenge received an apology letter. What a humiliation. And was he really going to just put it through? Chen asked again, but how can he be ready? How can he even think about anything? Every day he entered the game and was persecuted. His comrades were persecuted and left the game. He's no longer a Hall of Famer. Shizen got angry and said that he was just an idiot. Lu Chen, he's just a coward. He says goodbye to him. Chen took off his headphones and lowered his gaze to the floor. Shisan's words about being a coward were repeated in his thoughts. He recalled a truly exciting battle and the joy of victory. He was once the champion. Public humiliation, relentless persecution, and a broken guild. Each of them was firmly imprinted on his subcortex. He is the one who saw the peak. It will never rot in the dirt of a ditch. Shisan is right. Is he willing? He's ready. Suddenly Chen shouted, wearing a virtual helmet, "Heavenly Order, he is ready. Heavenly Order, it's here." A blue beam of light formed around his body, which enveloped his entire body, and he sat silently, waiting, and suddenly realized that he had the feeling that he was traveling through a lot of data. Are virtual technologies of Yahello groups so advanced? He looked into the distance with a surprised look. Temple of Instruction. He moved into a spacious temple, examined the surrounding columns, and thought that he really had a realistic feeling, as if he had really moved to another place. The texture of the stone columns is also modeled. This is a worthy masterpiece. Eclipsing spiritual pain. Welcome to the Temple of Instruction, Luchin. A little fairy elf appeared in front of him and greeted him, saying that she was a system spiritess. He greeted her, and she continued to notify him. Dear player, after confirmation, he becomes a member of the CGL Hall of Fame in the Z country region. He will have exclusive ID privileges. Does he want to continue using his Beam ID? He thought for a moment that he was beaming. This ID had become the Hall of Fame's biggest joke. Changing the ID will be an indicator of a new start. A system window appeared in front of him, which showed the proposed name of a broken spear sinking in the sand. He could think more or confirm it. After briefly thinking about his choice, he realized that now he was no longer a member of the Luchin Hall of Fame. This player is a broken spear sinking in the sand. He sharply pressed the confirm button, and he asked him again, a broken spear sinking in the sand. He grinned, then rejoiced and said, a broken spear sinking in the sand, the iron still not straightened. He will sand and scrub to restore it to its past glory. These 4 words are very poetic. He's so charismatic. He is the remnant of the dream soul of the ancient sword, returning. You bent over in surprise at these statements and asked a question. The player is a broken spear sinking in the sand. Does he want to start a competition and choose a profession? His eyes glowed a bright blue, and he responded with a grin, go. He was presented with 10 professions. There were many different figures in the room. Which path would suit him best now? Movable knight, balance warrior, or an archer dealing damage to a single target? What a horror, it's very difficult for him to choose. How about returning to his old role as a warrior? The system notifies you of the prompt. The helmet initiates an operation to collect blood samples to identify the body. He closed his eyes and suddenly a needle pierced his body. The blood draw began. His hand shook and he wondered, blood draw. Does the helmet take samples? The system window reports, prompt, sample collection is complete. Detection of the player's body has begun. By definition, his heart rate is reduced by 30% of the normal human value. By definition, his body temperature is reduced by 70% of the normal human value. His blood pressure is reduced by 40%. His brain wave response is increased by 120%, and his vital signs are reduced by 50% of normal human values. He opened his mouth in surprise and wondered with an anxious look what was going on. Why did everything around glow red? Is his VIP-level helmet fake? A red beam shone from his room directly onto the street, and he shouted not to touch it. He spoke, referring to his physique. The system opened a hidden class. He looked thoughtful and asked what kind of class it was that had caused so much excitement. She asked again, does he want to look at it? He agreed with the proposal, and the system congratulated him on unlocking the hidden class. This is the Death Knight. Death Knight, the strongest warrior from Hell. Descendant of the Asura clan, master of the deadly power of Hell itself, lord of all night spirits. He was alerted by a bright purple light near him, and he said, this is amazing. Death Knight, a warrior class belonging to a special race. It's perfect. The clock hand struck 12, and the system tells him, the time has come, it's time to start the game. A broken spear is buried in the sand. Does he want to enter the game right now? He answered with confidence, yes. Suddenly someone shouted, get up. Left dead. The system reports that Ryog is a village of newcomers for corpses from chaos. He found himself in a cemetery, being a skeleton, and looking around he wondered why his respawn point was so dirty. What a horror, how did he become this? It is not right. What about the Death Knight? This has nothing in common with the original picture. The system reports that the skeleton of death is the initial form of the knight. He thought about it, he needs to forget about it, after all, this is a special class. The skeleton is cool. He just has no blood and flesh and feels empty. There is no tissue and blood. This doesn't mean that, but suddenly he lowered his head and saw the tissue on his thighs, which is why he was horrified and spoke. He is a man with iron bones and hot blood, but now he is just bones. The system window reports, the chief magician of the Luanchi Ridge, the village of newcomers for corpses from chaos, is Naivan. This creature was holding a long stick in its hands and was saying, little skeleton. Chen looked at this creature in fear and asked, who is this? The monster replied, he is Naewin, the chief magician of the Luanchi Ridge, a village of newcomers for corpses from chaos. The awakened night spirit must take up his sword and hit the road and fight for the rule of the night spirits with courage and strength. In front of Chen, a system prompt appeared that he had received a starting set of equipment for a beginner from the chief mage of the Luanchi Ridge of the beginner village for corpses from chaos. He opened his mouth in surprise and thought, this really scared him. After which he looked at the system window and thought, a broken iron sword, a torn cape, but this is better than nothing. He suggests just equipping it. He pressed the button to put everything on, and a moment later there was fabric on him, and an iron sword in his hands, and he screamed, the Death Knight is here. With this armor, his stats were about to skyrocket, and he asked the system to show him his stats panel. Suddenly, there was a long silence. The system window showed the character's characteristics. Information statistics, Death Knight class, level, strength and agility 0, life, hit points and mastery 100. Additional attributes, attack 1 to 2, physical defense 1, movement and attack speed 6, reputation, magic power, magic resistance and luck 0. These statistics are too low. Suddenly Naivan turned to him and asked a question, the little skeleton, does he want to become stronger? Would he like him to give him some tips? He has a lot of tricks. Chen stepped aside from Naivan and said in response that tips are good, but he is not ready to sell himself. Naivan looked at him with a horrifying expression on his face and said that he should come and take the quest. He still has nothing to trade. The system window reports a hint. He accepted the quest to kill big-eared rabbits. The difficulty level is F low class level. Description of the task: you need to kill 20 big-eared rabbits and collect 5 bunches of coarse wool from their paws. He must bring this to the chief magician of the Luanxi Ridge, the village of newcomers for the corpses from chaos, and he will receive a certain reward. Chen thought he, the old man, has a lot of jokes in stock. 20 rabbits. Should be simple for him, right? The system window announces the arrival at the carrot meadows, where there were many sinister rabbits with sharp teeth who were pulling carrots from the beds. There was a strong wind in the deserted field. Chen went down to the ground and hit the rabbit with his sword, saying that it would taste his sword. He dealt a critical hit of 41, level 2, level 1. It seemed very simple to him. He stopped, and at that moment another rabbit turned his attention to him. Chen swung his sword and shouted to this creature to come to him. Suddenly he thought, he will be in this position in 3 seconds, now he needs to make a swing. He screamed loudly from using his powers and let the rabbit go. He had not expected this at all and wondered if he had missed the mark. Does this bunny have super fast speed? Health minus 15. The rabbit struck his skull, and he screamed in pain, after which he fell to the ground and began to sob, thinking that he had attacked 3 seconds earlier to remove the delay. Why didn't it work? He saw another level 3 rabbit and realized that the attack was happening again. He again swung his sword earlier than necessary and missed the rabbit, which landed on his sword, which alerted him, and he thought, no again, then he will try again. He was wasting his opportunity by trying to attack earlier, but suddenly he started counting down from 3 seconds to 1 while the rabbit was getting close to him, and at that moment his teeth were a little broken, and he was thinking, of course, horrible. The system window reports that hunger level is 96 out of 100, health 3 out of 100, mono 97 out of 100. This is not a fast rabbit, but its latency has decreased. Many rabbits continued to attack him, and he mentally shouted, "Boss Shisan, Shadow Candle Chaos. He is the #1 swordsman in the world. He is back. The point is melting." His expression darkened as he realized that he had actually been killed by a bunch of rabbits. Shisan and everyone else don't need to know this. There was awkwardness. But how did his latency drop to 0.9 seconds? It is very strange. He suddenly felt dizzy, an enveloping sensation as if he had forgotten something. We have to think, maybe he really forgot something. Sport car, baseball bat, his gaming deposit, and the second Master Guanya. What does he have to do with all this? He remembers that the doctor said that his nerves had a certain chance of healing themselves. Could it be that the very self-healing that the doctor spoke about happened? Maybe he should take some time and visit the hospital for a medical examination. In the meantime, little bunnies, he's coming to them. The system window notifies you of a hint. You need to attack the weak point of the big-eared rabbit and get a 50% bonus to damage. He greeted the little bunnies and continued his battle with these creatures. The rabbits looked at him in fear and dropped the bitten carrot, after which he also dealt a critical blow 41, 45, 42. The rabbits scattered everywhere from his blows, and he received bonuses. It has a latency reduction feeling that is too amazing. The current delay is 0.9 seconds. In the future, this should disappear completely. He was happy about what was happening and asked the question, who else? Suddenly something alerted him. He looked to the side and asked what was happening. A guy fell from the sky on him. He grabbed him by the shirt and wondered, is this a player? The system says it's a little cold today. Chen looked at him and asked the question, who beat him like that? Come on. He continued to hold the bloody guy, but suddenly threw him to the ground when he saw a huge level 10 monster in front of him, who was carrying another bloody guy in his arms. He screamed for help many times with a frightened expression on his face. This monster is the king of big-eared rabbits. Health 300. A huge monster with a highlighted eye and a carrot in its mouth stood opposite the Chen and gradually approached him. The system window reports the clue, King of the Big-Eared Rabbits, Lord of the Carrot Meadow, Temperamental Muscle Monster. The monster made a sharp movement and threw the guy out of his hands to the side, who flew with a dumbfounded look and collided head-on with another guy, whom Chen waved away, saying that he wasn't paying attention. He straightened his hand, after which a lot of glowing pixels appeared in front of him, into which the guys were dismantled, and he said, let them go in peace, and he will take revenge for them. When he got close to his opponent, he thought that this was the first time he saw the boss. After reducing the delay, he suddenly became excited. Chen grabbed his sword with both hands, but suddenly noticed brass knuckles on the boss's paws, which he was surprised by, and realized that this guy is a social rabbit. Wow, he needs to stay calm. He held his sword tightly and thought that the opponent must have a fast type of melee attacks. The best option to face such an opponent is to remain calm and wait. When your opponent attacks, you must quickly dodge and find an opening. He approached the enemy and tried to plunge his sword into this creature, but suddenly something alerted him, and he did not understand what was happening, realizing that he had just removed 25 points of health with one blow of his fist. The system window reports that due to the nature of the undead, the skeleton swordsman, before the health points expire, can quickly repair damaged bones and instantly return to its shape. Health points are not restored. He wondered if they were joking. What kind of indestructible nature does evil spirits have? Yes, it's useless. What's more important now is this rascal rabbit. One punch for 25 points, and how much damage he can inflict on him with his strongest attack. What a horror, it's so difficult. He slammed the tip of his sword straight into the boss's chest, and realized that the critical hit only dealt 8 points of damage. After that, he jumped up, swung again, and said out loud, "This frame is not only good in attack, but also has great speed. Even his defense is an anomaly." He landed not far from the monster and invited him to attack. The boss ran away, and at that moment Chen made a sharp movement with his weapon and said that it was time to attack him at that very weak spot on his neck. When he saw his target, he realized with fright that he had armor hidden under his fur. At this moment, the boss cut the trunk of one of the trees and split it in half with an ominous expression on his face. The tree fell to the ground, and Chen wondered if he was hit with such an attack from the front, he would suffer a compression fracture. The weak point of all large-eared rabbits is completely hidden under armor. This is terrible. This F-rank boss is outrageously strong. Based on its health, a monster can make at least a dozen mistakes, but if it itself makes a mistake at least once, it will be killed. Suddenly the monster stopped and Chen looked at him questioningly, after which he said that he looked quite aggressive. The boss grabbed one of the trees and lifted it with his own strength, pulling it out of the ground with its roots. Chen told him, "Good boy, pull out the weeping willow," but it's a rabbit-shaped long-eared lugician. The boss teethed in anger and threw the tree towards Chen, who tried to dodge the attack and shouted, "Come on, the usual combo." Chen made many sharp movements with the sword, which left bright rays of light, and said that he could not cut it, but no one said that he could not cope with the tree. At that moment, the monster's brass knuckles were right in front of his face, and he shouted, "What kind of catch is this?" The monster got angry, but at that moment 20 health points were taken away from him, as Chen struck him and blood splashes scattered everywhere. Chen wondered, is normal damage 20? The monster's health deteriorated, and he began to think that his eyes must be his real weak point. At that moment, the monster hit him in the face, and his health decreased by 15. Chen cursed and said that he was distracted. Luckily, he followed the direction of his fist and relaxed his chin, taking only 15 points of damage. Suddenly, the monster dealt another blow, and Chen said, "His ribs!" Health decreased by 40 points as the boss hit his ribs with brass knuckles and broke it into small pieces, and at the same moment looked at him ominously, after which Chen flew to the side, he grinned at himself, and his health decreased by another 15 points, and he flew straight into a hollow tree. Hanging there, the system informed him that his health was 5 out of 100, and this was critical. The monster accelerated straight at him and delivered the final blow, attacking the Chen, hitting him in such a way that he was all inside the tree. But suddenly something surprised the monster, and a moment later his hand was grabbed by many shoots inside the tree. Chen found himself outside, on the other side of the trunk, called the rabbit, and said that he was here. He asked a question, sitting on a branch. Did he like the gift that he had prepared for him? This dead tree is full of tangled vines. If he got in, it won't be so easy to get out. This is of no use unless he breaks the entire tree. The rabbit continued to try to grab his hand and pull it off, but Chen continued to say that right now he had no chance, and after these words, Chen struck the rabbit's eyes, who groaned in pain. Chen pierced him with an incredibly strong blow and shouted to taste the sword. Critical hit minus 100, the monster's health decreased to 172 points. The monster grabbed his eyes. Chen stepped aside and thought, his eyes are really weak points. He actually took 100 points with a critical hit. The system window reports that the big-eared rabbit king has gone berserk. Attack power has increased by 50%, speed has decreased by 50, and defense has dropped by 50%. Suddenly he wondered, defense, attack speed? If he is blind, then what use is attack power? At that moment, Chen decided to swing his sword a few more times, and after these critical hits, the boss's health decreased more and more, and when his health reached 38 points, Chen said that he had one last blow left. He says goodbye to the little rabbit. After these words, he really caused serious damage and completely destroyed the monster. The creature's blood has been shed, and the system window congratulates him on his victory over the king of the big-eared rabbits. He reached level 4 and was given a reward for defeating the boss. Chen grinned. He died after all. Now he suggests looking at the system window. This informs him that he has loot, a glowing chest plate of a big-eared rabbit, quality black stone, physical defense +9, health +20, required level 2. Large magic stone, quality 77. A special gem with magical powers can be exchanged with merchants for a certain number of gold coins. These luminous objects appeared in front of him, and he said, a breastplate and a large magic stone. Put on the glowing big-eared bunny chest plate. When he put it on, he stood in a majestic pose and said that he finally had worthy armor. The system window reports that he has received 10 free bonus points and can spend them on pumping up life, mana, strength, and agility. These are the 4 main attributes. The system window shows his stats: health 160, 140, strength 1, agility, and level 4. Attack 5 to 6, physical defense, movement speed, and attack speed 14, reputation, magical power, luck 0, magic resistance 4. He looked at it thoughtfully and wondered, 10 free points? Life was added by 20 units due to the chest plate. There are no skills, mana does not decrease, agility is compensated by reaction speed. So it will add everything to power. He raised the stat numbers, and now strength has a value of 11, and attack from 11 to 16. Chen was happy and said, he has the feeling that skeleton swordsmen have good strength growth rates. 5 points of strength are equivalent to 3 to 5 points of attack strength. He picked up his sword, ran in an unknown direction, and continued to talk. He still didn't collect a single hair from his paws. He offers to continue this crusade. After some time, he turned to the main thing and asked the question, how did he complete his task? The chief magician replied, very good, little young skeleton, let him keep his reward. The system window reports that he completed the quest to kill the big-eared rabbits and received 150 experience points, 10 copper coins, a reputation stat +1, and reached level 5. He received 5 bonus free points. Chen was delighted and said, this is cool. Chief Mage, does he have any other quests? He replied, of course, let him accept the new quest. The system window reports that he received a new quest to kill the green mantises, quest level F rank, medium. The quest contains the following. He needs to go to the Forest of Morning Light, kill 100 mantises and collect their blades in the amount of 10, then take them to the head mage of the beginner village for the corpses from chaos. Chen asked again, 100 bogomolofs. He needs to find a merchant and buy some healing potions to prepare for the long battle. The chief magician suddenly became a merchant and asked again, the little skeleton, is he looking for a merchant? Chen asked in surprise, is he also a merchant? The magician answered, there are few night spirits, they value versatility. Chen looked at him silently, then walked up to him to take a closer look at the glowing stone and asked a question with curiosity, how much does this magic stone cost? They both examined it very carefully, and the merchant replied, it is of good quality, so it is worth 1,540 copper coins. Chen, after hearing the amount, thought that it was wonderful. This magic stone is definitely worth 1,540 copper coins, although the reward for the work is only 10 coins. As long as their quantity is large, even copper can shine. Chen turned to the chief magician and asked if he had any healing potions. He was delighted, raised his hands up and answered yes. He guarantees that he will be satisfied. The system window reports that the main healing potion costs 50 copper coins. Effect: each bottle restores 80 health points. Chen grabbed a lot of these potions, and the magician said after him, waving his hand, that they would be glad to see him again. He spoke back without turning around, swindler. He bought 20 bottles at one time, so doesn't he know that he needs to give a discount? He found himself in a forest of morning light. At the entrance a sign said, attention, crazy dragon. Trespassing is prohibited. He was surprised by this message and wondered, is the dragon crazy? Guild? Don't cross borders. He's not even human, why should he even bother? Suddenly, he noticed 2 guys nearby who were quickly running somewhere into the distance, and he became interested in who these 2 people were. The guys ran with incredible speed and frightened expressions on their faces. One of them turned to the other and said that perhaps they were pursuing them. He shouted back that they needed to run away as quickly as possible. Chen realized these are the guys, but what are they doing here? He immediately blocked their path and silently watched what was happening. One of the guys told the other when he saw him that there was a night spirit in front of them and a crazy dragon behind them. Heaven really decided to punish them. The other guy turned behind him with a frightened expression on his face and asked what should they do. He shouted back that he needed to fight him. Another answered yes. He also offers to fight. The Night Spirit is only level 5, and they can easily defeat him together. Suddenly, an arrow pierced the light guy right in the back. He screamed in pain and his blood spilled. The other guy got scared and, with his mouth open in shock, noticed another approaching arrow. And suddenly Chen ran up to him and grabbed it with his hands. The guy thanked him and asked the other guy how he was feeling. Chen told them that fortune had betrayed them. The guy sat on his knees and said that he didn't want to die. Chen noticed a few more arrows approaching and mentally wondered, is there an archer there? It is very interesting. The arrows are fast, but the flight path is so predictable. With his current reaction speed, no one will be able to touch him. The attacker was a level 7 archer, ID Mad Dragon Zia Huron. He got angry, drawing the arrow, and said, what a horror. He really escaped all of them. Some horrible level 5 bag of bones thinks he's a savior. Alta, he sent an incredibly powerful magic arrow towards him and took advantage of the clan's blood explosion. Chen grinned, waved his sword in front of him, leaving a bright beam of light behind it, and said, his ultimate is so weak. Archer Kiran became wary and spoke. He really split it. He looked after him questioningly and decided to try again. And meanwhile, he was thinking, so quickly, how did he end up in the middle of it? Chen swung his sword with incredible force and said goodbye to the little archer. Kiran looked to the side in fear and realized that an attack was approaching him, which is why he said no. Chen dealt a critical hit of -135 and said that the archers were still as fragile as before. Many birds flew over the forest, and he asked the question, what is that sound? New players couldn't create such a commotion during the battle. The Mad Dragon must have been protecting the field to surround the boss. It's too bad that he ended up here, like a fish breaking through a net. Deep in the Forest of Morning Light, there were many warriors with heavy weapons opposite the King of the Green Manties, whose health was 600, level 15. And a huge mantis screamed loudly and attacked the warriors and knights. One of them fell and said to the others, guys, they've already taken down half the boss's health. All guys who die will receive 300 yuan compensation, and those who lose a level as a result will receive an additional 500 yuan. They need to kill the boss. 1 health point of this creature is equal to 50 yuan, and those who show zeal will be rewarded. These words were spoken by the head of the Mad Dragon, level 9, Knight. Chen was stunned by such statements and wondered if 1 in 200 was 60,000 yuan. Is he crazy rich? So much money is spent on killing F-rank monster. The monster continued to swing its limbs and growl loudly at the knights, and one of them shouted, to the glory of the young dragon master, forward for the guild Mad Dragon. They need to kill it. Chen asked a question, is this a super buff bonus for which they give money? At this moment, many knights surrounded the monster's limb, and after the blow, a lot of blood was spilled. The monster's health was reduced by 421. Chen thought it causes such terrifying damage. This boss is much more difficult than the big-eared Rabbit King. Will the remaining members of the Mad Dragon be able to stick it out until the end? The head of the Mad Dragon continued to support the team and told them not to stop there. They shouted back that they understood everything, and he asked them to pay attention to coordination and positioning. The first attack would anger the boss. They need to seize the advantage and attack together. And they should also use the cooldown time of this creature's skills, 1 hit and retreat, no need to stop for long. Chen wondered with interest, what kind of commander is this? He wants too much. Such a stupid attack will lead to multiple losses on the attacking side. Unless he wants to use the rest of the people to slowly beat the boss to death. Death compensation is 300 yuan per person, and if he loses a level, another 500 is added. He counted about 50 people in the Mad Dragon Guild. The losses of all people, and their level cost 40,000 yuan. Reward for health and compensation for death. Is this Mad Dragon leader really going to spend 100,000 just to kill a rank F boss for the first time? One of the guys approaching the monster shouted to the others, this is a great opportunity. Guys need to move forward. Their health was gradually decreasing, and the monster still had a score of 416. Suddenly, a bright beam of light pierced the entire area. The monster was hit, and its health was reduced by 166 points, and the head of the crazy dragon shouted not to care about those who had already fallen. Archers, fire! Many knights crowded around the monster and began to shoot at this creature, reducing its health by many indicators, and then the health of the monster with arrows stuck in its body dropped to 60. The head said with a joyful expression on his face, the archer squad did a good job. When the boss has 1 point on their meter, they should stop attacking and let him finish. Chen, watching what was happening from afar, thought that it was not surprising that this boy was almost level 10. It turns out that he single-handedly takes 50% of the final experience from killing the boss. At that moment, the monster straightened its limbs and roared very loudly. The entire area lit up with magical light. One of the knights flew to the side and wondered what was going on. The system window reports the 7-armed king of the green mantises. The king of the green mantises entered the state of berserk. This branch has 7 claws of blades, attack power increased by 100, defense by 50, and speed by 100. The boss turned into berserk. One of the knights turned to the young dragon master and asked him to leave it to him. Chen realized cool 300 yuan in his pocket. After the monster's attack, many knights were destroyed, whose blood was shed right in the air. One of the knights shouted, "Guys, in the name of the young dragon master, we need to remove as much health from this creature as possible." Chen thought, 800 yuan, he's coming. At this moment, another strong blow was dealt to the monster, and the creature's health dropped to 18. The head, with eyes widened in anticipation, asked not to stop and continue, realizing that the scale values were almost 0. He told his knights to use their lives to give him the opportunity. Health decreased by 15 and turned out to be only 3 points. The head watched this with caution and realized with Chen that he needed to act now, and a moment later the blood of the monster was shed, and the head of the mad dragon expressed greed on his face and headed towards the monster with a sharp spear in his hands, shouting that it should go to hell. The monster was alerted by these actions, and a moment later a bright flash of light appeared in space. The head looked warily at the Chen who appeared opposite him and asked the question, "Who is he?" Chen asked again, "Is he talking about him?" "He's just an ordinary traveler. He just happened to be passing by and appeared here to seek justice for those players he forcibly sent to respawn." The head said with a grin in response, "He speaks so righteously, but he has only appeared now and his goal is still to take the first kill of the boss." Chen replied that he was only here to clean up the environment, and in his thoughts, he added to these words that he also wanted to take the boss away as compensation. The head got angry, pointed his weapon in his direction, and shouted he dared to touch his things, so he should go to hell. A fish that slipped through the net. Chen was in full combat readiness and asked again, "Claw attack?" With his hand, he touched the body of the monster and spoke for 2 dying people, but before he could finish speaking, the head shouted to him with anger that a useless fight would only hasten his death. At this moment, there was a critical blow to the head, which took 250 health points, and Chen told him to practice his skills some more, young master. Money is not the answer. The head of the crazy dragon began to disappear in small pixels, and finally shouted to him how dare he steal his property. I wonder how many lives he has. Chen thought lustfully, this little thing will definitely make people chase him after such a performance, so he should hurry up. His body glowed with purple magical light. He stopped in front of the monster and asked this creature not to worry, since soon it would be the turn of the mantis itself. The system window reports a hint. The king of the green mantises has left the berserk stages. The green mantis king has entered the stage of weakness. The speed dropped by 150%, the defense dropped by 100, and the attack power decreased by 200. Chen found himself alone in front of his opponent, and after taking 1 hit, the monster's health dropped to 0, and the system window informed him that it congratulated the player on a broken spear sinking in sand with the first murder of the king of the green mantises. Chen shouted, "Experience, rewards. You need to go to him." The system window notifies that his vital signs are below the threshold, and he will be sent offline. The system will automatically save the experience and equipment that he received after killing the boss. Chen looked questioningly at this warning and responded with his silence. Chen took off his virtual helmet and asked why he was suddenly thrown offline after defeating the boss. And what did this warning mean? Suddenly, he heard a knock on the door and wondered who was banging on his door in the middle of the night. Shisan, who was trying to catch his breath behind the door, came running to him, and Chen asked him why he was here. He replied, of course it was because he was worried about him. He didn't respond to his messages or calls after that point. What is he doing? He looked into the distance of his room and became wary, after which his body trembled and he screamed loudly in fear that there were zombies there. He was dumbfounded and asked again, "Zombie, where would this come from here?" He showed him the phone screen and asked him to look at himself. Chen looked into the camera, and after a short silence he began to shout, "What are these spots on his face?" Shisang spoke in response, "Corpse spots appear on him, which only the dead have, and these spots increase and grow with great speed." Chen grabbed the phone in his hands and shouted at him not to joke like that at 2 a.m. It's just some kind of dermatitis, right? Shisang shouted back if he doesn't believe him, then he can take him to his father's hospital to get checked out. This is entirely consistent with what is recorded in his family's forensic report. Chen began to fall down in horror and wonder how he could have such a thing. Shisan grabbed him. He continued to say that his head hurt a lot. Shisan shouted at him to hold on. He would take him to the hospital right away. 4th City Hospital, Emergency Department. After some time, the doctor examined him and said with a frightened expression on his face that these were indeed cadaveric spots. The head doctor's name is Du Zhonglin. Shisan asked again, "Father, what is happening to him?" He listened to his heartbeat and chest sounds and said that it was difficult for him to say right now. First they would do a blood test, and then he would organize a PET CT scan. This is too strange, this really exists. Hematology laboratory. Chen walked up to Du sitting at the computer and asked what the test results were. He replied, "It is not easy to explain. It is an illness that has never been seen before. A giant virus in his blood that defies biological explanation." Chen asked with fear, "A giant virus? Could it be that he became infected with the zombie virus?" Zhonglin replied, "No, this is too much. But what's strange is that it does not destroy the health of the cell, but restores the damaged ones." However, accordingly, due to the fact that there are a lot of them in his body, the effect of this objectively slows down the speed of blood circulation. Does it slow down the blood flow? Cadaveric spots are just the consequences of this. In his case, the following happens. The blood flow slows down, causing blood to accumulate on the surface of the skin. And the current speed of his blood circulation continues to gradually drop. As soon as the blood flow finally stops, he most likely, but Zhongling could not finish this, and Chen realized that he would die as soon as the blood stopped. After that, Zhongling stood up, touched his shoulder, and asked him not to be so depressed. Now that medical technology is so advanced, there must be a way. A PET CT scan is ready. He offers to check what other effects this virus had on his body. Chen replied, "Okay," and thanked Uncle Du. He responded by saying that there was no need to be so nice to him, but Luchin, had he experienced anything strange these days? He asked again, "Strange phenomena?" Suddenly he remembered the bright red gate, walled up with thick chains, and said, slowing down a little, "No, nothing." Zhonglin asked him again, "Is it really okay?" He turned away and replied, "Nothing." In the PET CT scan office, he was lying down undergoing an examination, and Shisan asked his father a question, "Does he suspect that Chen is hiding something?" He replied that he just wanted to make sure. Maybe he really doesn't remember what happened to his body. This is a defense mechanism of the psyche. Shisan asked again, "Does he mean that he has post-traumatic stress disorder, which made him forget certain things?" He spoke back, exactly like that. Shisan, he should read a couple of medical books at home. Based on the speed of his blood flow, he should have already had a stroke, or something worse would have happened. At the moment, the situation is not very optimistic. He suggests informing his family as soon as possible. Shisan got scared and asked again, "How can this be?" Chen, meanwhile, lay under the medical equipment with his mouth open and suddenly realized that he felt very warm. Zhonglin came closer and said that he would bring the film, and for now Shisan should take Chen to the MRI room. He himself would join soon. Shisan ran back into the office and replied, "Okay," and at that moment something greatly surprised Zhongling, who widened his eyes and screamed in surprise, then screamed, who dared to scream in a hospital in the middle of the night. Shisan was dumbfounded, pointed his finger into the distance, and asked his father to look there. Zhongling looked questioningly into the distance and saw that the corpse stains had completely disappeared from Chen's body. Zhonglin asked in bewilderment, "How is this possible?" He shouted with joy, "How does he feel now?" He sat down on the bench and said, hesitatingly, that he felt warm during the PET CT scan. Now he does not feel any discomfort. Zhongling cupped his face with both hands, looked deeply into his eyes, and realized that this was too overwhelming. His face is normal. Hands are fine. The pupils are normal. Just thanks to X-ray radiation, the cadaveric spots completely disappeared. Having made this conclusion, he jumped to the side with a frightened expression on his face, began waving his hand and saying that he needed to hurry up and bring the blood sampling equipment here. No, he suggests we go to the laboratory now. Chen asked Uncle Du to calm down. 3 hours later, Chen's face turned pale as Shisan carried him in his arms. Chen's whole body was shaking, and he said that he felt as if his father wanted to divide him into parts and conduct research on him. Shisan said in response that he did not even expect that his father would actually take 800 milliliters of blood from him for experiments. They entered the room. Shisan sat him down on the sofa, handed him a glass of water, and said, "Now we can safely say that X-ray radiation has an inhibitory effect on the virus." Chen extended his hand to the water and answered, "Yes." Shisan continued to say, "As long as they test which X-ray wavelength is most suitable for continuing therapy, he will have to rest." It's 6 o'clock in the morning. First he'll rest, and in the meantime he'll run off to get him breakfast. Chen thanked him for this and lay down on the sofa. He looked at his hands and thought about what Uncle Du said about him going through a difficult phase. Then why are there no consequences for him? After some time, Shisan returned to him and hurriedly informed him that a beauty was standing at the front door in a sports car with a huge gorilla guard. The cute girl has a bandana on her head and looks like she's trying to catch her lover. Would he like to watch this? He asked again in surprise. Bandana. Gorgeous. Sports car. Shisan, does he have a photo? He handed him the phone and showed him the screen, saying that there was a photo. She's cute, but it looks like the guard doesn't trust her because he constantly looks at her with a menacing look. Suddenly he realized this person is the boss. He remembered everything. This night, after his first meeting with the boss, he died. This made him laugh very much and his expression became frightened. He grabbed his face. Shisan was afraid for him and sat closer to him and asked the question, what was happening to him? He said, hesitating, that this woman is the High Yui boss of the dream soul of the ancient sword. He was very surprised by this and asked again, is she his boss? He dropped the phone in fright when they started banging on the door and shouting, Luchin, this is he Yui. Chen said, wow, she found him so quickly. Shisan wondered why he felt that this was not good. What did he do last night? He got up, walked closer to the door, and said that he needed to forget about it. Since they know each other, he will open the door and they can talk face to face. He also replied to Yui that he was already on his way. Chen frowned and suddenly extended his hand and shouted to Shisan to stop and not open the door. He rushed towards his body. His hand shook and he said that he needed to tell something. Shisan looked at him questioningly and Yui continued to knock on the door and shout, Luchin. She knows he's inside. Shisan had already grabbed the handle and shouted back that he was on his way. Stop knocking like that. It's too early. Shouldn't we let people sleep? Chen pushed Shisan aside and asked him to leave here, and he was surprised by this and shouted with dissatisfaction, what is he doing? He opened the doors and Yui shouted several times, Luchin, Luchin. Shisan looked at her with his mouth open and asked Beauty, what does she need? She went inside and asked him where the beam was. She definitely heard his voice. He replied that he did not know any beam. She must have got the wrong apartment. She looked around and said in response that this was impossible, he clearly should be here. Shisan was surprised by her persistence and said that she had entered private territory. She continued to walk around the house and look around, saying that she knew he was here. Suddenly, she swung her bag. Shisan looked at her in fear and she asked the question, is he really hiding from her? Chen saw her sudden movements and thought, oh no, this is the boss. Shisan, didn't he tell him to kick the boss out? How did she get into the bedroom? She had already gone to the closet and said that she knew that it was located here. A cold sweat ran through his body, and he continued to stand inside the closet in silence. She grabbed the handle and asked why he was avoiding her. Is she really worried about him? She started to open the door, and he realized he was in trouble. At that moment, Shisan shouted loudly behind her back that Luchin was already dead. These words made Yui stop. Her hand trembled, and she lowered her gaze and said that this was impossible. Chen thought about it. After all, she stopped, but it was close. Tears appeared in her eyes, and she continued to scream, this is impossible. Luchin cannot be dead. He must be lying to her. Shisan spoke back, it's true. If she doesn't believe him, she can go to City Hospital now. And look at the death certificate. She threw him aside and ran out of the room with incredible anger, shouting that he was a liar and hitting him hard. She ran out onto the landing and her thoughts were that he was lying to her a lot. She repeated his name again and again and ran with tears in her eyes. Shisan called his father and said that he needed help again. After that, he went to the closet where Chen was sitting, opened the door, and said that she had left. Is he sure he did the right thing? He said in response, in the hospital he naively thought that as long as they used X-ray therapy, his body would be as normal. But when the block fell from his memories, he couldn't even say with certainty whether he was alive or dead. Instead of giving the boss hope and then taking it away, it is better to immediately drown it in despair, so the pain will be less. Shisan sat down near the closet and said in response that it was confusing him more and more. So what happened last night? He must explain everything to him immediately. He replied that he was buried alive. Shisan was surprised by this and asked again, what did he say? Chen said, yesterday afternoon he went to meet his boss. He thought that this would be an ordinary meeting of friends and did not expect that it would turn out to be the vice president of GGS Asia, Yui. Shisan squeezed into his story and expressed his opinion that she is a rich and beautiful woman. Aren't he and his boss gamers? He picked up a rich lady. Chen continued to say that she gave him 200,000 yuan worth of equipment and also invited him to her new studio. and she showed her feelings for him, but he rejected it all. Shisang was dumbfounded after this news with tears in his eyes and tried to tell him that he had made the wrong choice, but Chen said that with his 3-second delay state, he was only a burden to her, and he did not want her to waste her time on someone like him. She insisted on letting him down, and an incident happened on the way home. The rival with whom she competed for the post of Vice President of Asia realized that he could not win and decided to set a trap to kill her. The gang was numerous and well armed. In order to save himself, he set fire to the gas tank of the car, but the explosion was delayed only for a minute. The boss, who was stunned by the blast wave, was thrown by him onto a passing tractor, and he stayed for her. Shisang was stunned by what was happening and opened his mouth, and Chen continued to talk. Seeing that their plan failed and their victim escaped, they brought all their anger on him, and he was beaten to death by them. Maybe they thought he was dead. After they vented their anger, they dragged his body to the Chaos Mound, which is located in the north of the city, and there he was buried alive by them. Shisan was very scared and repeated these words in his thoughts. Chen said, fortunately, heaven did not accept him then. Yesterday's downpour saved him. And because of the heavy rain, the soil in which he was buried became very loose. He lost consciousness and crawled out of the ground like a zombie. He doesn't remember where he was going, he only felt the pain in his body constantly receding, and when he returned to a conscious state, he was standing in front of the door to his apartment, and there was not a single wound on his body, only a slight headache. Shisan spoke with caution. This is because he was infected with a giant virus after being buried, and it also constantly restores his body. This is simply incredible. Chen turned to him and asked the question, do you think he's even alive now? Shisan jumped up from the floor, turned away from him and said, the Chaos Mound in the north of the city is shrouded in more than one secret. Looks like they'll have to go there. Chen said that he would go with him. Shisan took his trembling body by the arm and said that right now he needs to rest. First he needs to eat, and for now he will go out for a while. He pulled out food for him from the bag, and Chen asked a question. Now he will go to the Chaos Mound burial ground. Shisang took a bite of bread and said in response, no, about the falsification of his death certificate. His father cursed him. By the way, his dad asked him to take his gaming helmet with him. Chen replied, biting off the edge of the bread, okay, he can have that. 4th Hospital, Conference Room. Shizan picked up the box with the heavenly order and told his father that it was already here. He entered the office, but there were several adults there. He was dumbfounded in the passage and became interested in why these old people were here. Previously, the income from the game was only about 130,000, which was not enough, and before leaving, he needed to earn enough money to support his father, who retired. He manually wrote on a piece of paper that he needed to find a partner for his father, a pension, a bank card, and write a will before leaving. The reconstruction plan for the soul and dreams of the ancient sword. Buddy is already here. Suddenly, Shisan announced that he had already returned and asked the question where he was. He said his name, threw his pen on the table, and replied that he was here, hiding the piece of paper. He got up from his seat, looked at Shisan, and asked in bewilderment why he needed so many bags. Did he run away from home? Shisan replied as he walked past him, no, he's just moving in with him. Chen did not expect such a turn of events at all, and asked again, what? But he only has one bed here. Shisan sat down on the sofa and said in response, oh well, his sofa is wide enough for him to sleep on. Chen grabbed his head and asked Shisan to tell him the truth. Has he reached the point where he needs a personal nanny? Shisan spoke in response, lying in a comfortable position on the sofa. What kind of nonsense is he talking about? He's just bored at home. As for him, he won't die anytime soon. He handed him the examination report and said, this is his examination report, which reflects that his vital signs are normal. Chen read the indicators and asked again, is this really possible? Shisang began to take something out of his backpack and spoke further. At first he did not believe it, and later, these old professors conducted several groups of comparative experiments before he believed it. Chen asked him back in surprise, old professors? Shisan pulled out the helmet on the table and Chen asked, has his item been studied? He replied, yes, that's exactly how it is. His project to sequence the genes of the virus turned out to be too big and his father had to ask for help. Genome sequencing in the laboratory allows you to obtain almost any genetic information and analyze and decipher all genes, mitochondrial DNA, and intergenic regions. Then more and more people began to come, older and older, highly qualified, who were considered masters of medicine, and eventually a group of textbook medical figures gathered. These medical giants made one call, and the Chaos Mound became a guarded military zone with limited access. But after these old professors appeared, the efficiency became very high. In just half a day, the secret of the Chaos Burial Mound was revealed. Chen became wary and asked again, "Is it a secret?" Shisang continued to say that a group of tombs dating back to the end of the Han Dynasty had been discovered under the Chaos Mound. Perhaps this is somehow connected with the Yiguan, but the specifics of the situation require further excavations. Chen grabbed his head and said, "It feels a little mysterious." Shisen sat down on the sofa and said, "There are even more mysterious things. In the corpse fluid flowing from the tombs, they found a virus RNA identical to what is in his body." He realized a corpse fluid as ancient as the world. What kind of virus is this? Shisan handed him the document and asked again, "Isn't it written there?" "The ice corpse virus is named after him." Chen looked at the documents and said, "This is really a good name." Shizan picked up a small doll from his backpack, turning away from Chen, and said that he should look first while he sorted out his things. Chen continued to read the documents and wonder why the characterization of the virus ended with a brief description without any more detailed explanation. Shisang pulled out his toys from his backpack and said, in less than a day, these highly qualified doctors were able to write only a short report. For a more detailed characterization, this remains to be further studied. The only characteristic that can be given with a 100% guarantee is super strong recovery ability. This virus is constantly repairing his cells, strengthening his body, so now his physical fitness is ridiculously good. Chen replied, the virus strengthened his physical condition, but it also slowed down the speed of his blood flow, thereby causing intoxication, causing poisoning of other organs and a slowdown in heart rate. When compared to other physical problems, the most important thing is that no one was interested in his body. Shisang said in response that his father told him that at that moment they really had an argument. A bunch of people wanted to send him to the laboratory for 24-hour observation and research. Several extremely influential people expressed the position that his professional opinion should be sought. Later they discovered that virus RNA was more important to study, and its value dropped somewhat to the level of the object that contains RNA. Chen said in response, everything was fine until he was made a lab rat. He did not expect that the virus could help him 3 times. Shisan was surprised and asked him again 3. Isn't it twice? Chen answered, cell restoration brought him back to life. The RNA virus helped him avoid the role of a laboratory mouse, and finally the delay of his neural impulses decreased to 0.9 seconds. Shisan was stunned by this news. He suddenly jumped up on the sofa and shouted at him the question seriously. He threw back the backpack with his toys and Chen said in response, yes. Suddenly Shisan grabbed the virtual helmet and said, you need to act faster. He should take him into the game and let him feel it too. This thing can repair cells, then it should be able to repair the nerves of his brain. How could he not have thought of this simple logic? This would also be a good chance to test the X-ray system that Dad and the others had installed there, and then they'd see if it worked. Chen grabbed the virtual helmet, began to put it on his head, and asked again, X-ray system. What it is? Shisang began to explain that in simple terms, his helmet can now emit X-rays to inhibit the effect of the virus, so now he does not need to visit the hospital every day and undergo radiation therapy. Isn't this wonderful? Dissatisfaction appeared on Chen's face, and he told him that in the end he doesn't need to appear there all the time, and he can undergo therapy at home. Shisen showed him the information ring and said that in addition to the helmet, there was such a thing. Chen looked at it curiously, put it on his hand, and asked what it was. Shisan replied, this is a vital sign detector that can read his condition and send him in real time to the hospital for constant monitoring. But he still needs to undergo a full medical examination every week to be fully operational. Chen saw a bright light coming from the bracelet and asked what was going on. Shisan, what is this red line? Shisan looked at his hand and asked again with a frightened expression on his face, is there a red line? His bracelet began to emit bright flashes of light even more intensely, as well as make loud sounds. They were both very scared and their mouths were open in shock, and moments later a very loud sound was heard from their apartment, even on the street. There is an ambulance at Lu Cheng's entrance. Du Zhonglai puts a special bracelet on Chen and exclaims, great. Lu Chen looks at this and wonders, is everything okay? The red line and electric shock won't suddenly appear again, right? Du Zhongli replies no. Then turns his head to the side where Shisan is standing against the wall and notes that if someone had not forgotten the basic principles of debugging before putting on this bracelet, this situation might not have happened at all. Chen immediately tries to calm him down and says that Shisan also worked hard today. No wonder he forgot about it. But Zhonglai adjusts his glasses and frowns, thinking that this brat has forgotten how to use the bracelet. He should be reminded of this. Lu Chen hears this and says in excitement, "What?" Du Zhongli explains that this bracelet can monitor his vital signs in real time. Displaying a red line means he has heart problems. The bracelet will automatically bring him first aid. Blue color means lung problems. The bracelet automatically gives him adrenaline. Green color indicates blood problems. Due to the virus, his vital signs are different from those of ordinary people. Shisang didn't adjust the parameters before he dared to put this on Chen. He hears this and notes, no wonder, as soon as the red line appeared, the bracelet began to discharge. Du Zhongli calms him down and tells him not to panic when the lines appear. If he is in the city, he will disconnect to him in half an hour. And if he wants to leave the city, then he will have to provide them with a report in advance. This is also for his safety. He hopes that Lu Chen understands. Chen listens to this and thinks that the ability to move is limited only within the city. This must be the biggest concession they have made. After a while, he waves after the car as it drives away and wishes him a safe journey. Zhang Lai shouts back at him to contact him immediately if anything happens. After a while, Du Shisan and Lu Chen enter the apartment. Shisan sits down on the chair and exclaims, he's finally gone. Chen holds the helmet in his hands and says that his uncle also debugged his X-ray system. He's going to check it out. Suddenly, Shisan exclaims sharply, by the way, is his game ID still the same? He would later add it online. But Lu Chen says he changed it. What about him? Then they look at each other and simultaneously suggest that they say it together. The next moment, Lu Chen screams, a broken spear sinking in the sand. Shisan also shouts, peerless master. They then stare at each other and Chen leaves, sarcastically noting that Du Shisan has a nice name. Shisang immediately asks irritably, isn't he worthy of this? Lu Chen appears from behind the door and replies, he is certainly worthy. Also, Shisang should hurry up and install the client. He will be waiting for them to surf the internet together with an incomparable master. At that moment, a slipper flies in his direction, and Du Shisan shouts that it annoys him. But Chen manages to close the door and thinks that Shisan should wait for him. He will make him a real incomparable master. Then he puts on his helmet and realizes that he has wasted too much time. He wonders what his rank is now. Online. After the helmet starts up, the X-ray system will also work. It is so sweet. After this, information windows with prompts appear sequentially. The player, a broken spear, drowning in the sand, reconnected to the game. He returns to the location with the current coordinates being the green manted morning light forest, green manted burrow. The player with a broken spear sinking in the sand receives a green jungle blade. In the forest of the morning sun, namely in the hole of green mantises on a small hill, a sword is stuck into the ground from which a green glow emanates. The information window describes the equipment. This is a black stone weapon. Attack from 10 to 18 adds 4 to strength. The required level is 8. The broken spear reaches out to the blade, and Lu Chen wonders how he thundered into the mantis' lair. It must be that the offline coordinates are tied to the green blade. He then exclaims, now is the time to try out the power of this. The next moment, an energy stream with a purple tint flies out from a hole located in the tree trunk. The praying mantises immediately notice this and head towards the hole. Many fragments fly out from there. The spear sinking in the sand holds the blade, and Lu Chen exclaims enthusiastically, this black stone weapon is really sharp. The spear comes out and Chen again notes that a light blow pierced right through a huge tree. I wonder what effect it has on monsters. Suddenly level 8 and 7 mantises appear nearby. The broken spear, sinking in the sand, gets ready and Lu Chen joyfully exclaims that it was just in time. A broken spear deals a critical blow to a mantis and takes away 402 points. Then it again deals another critical blow to another mantis and takes away 430 points. He twirls the green jungle blade in his hands and Chen says enthusiastically, the crit deals a full 400. This is worthy of a black stone. Suddenly a broken spear, sinking in the sand, attacks one of the mantises and Lu Chen asks, did it want to attack from behind? A broken spear hits the mantis and takes away 18 health points. He notes that it is not good enough. The praying mantis flies a long distance. Lu Chen shouts that he is in a hurry. The praying mantises must come in droves. After these words, 2 mantises with the 8th level and 1 mantis with the 7th level approach him. Chen notes with surprise, it can't be. The monsters really started to come in droves. But immediately the broken spear, sinking in the sand, smiles and Chen exclaims, okay. The praying mantises are getting closer and closer, and the broken spear in an instant deals many blows and cuts them into pieces. Lu Chen shouts, since they attacked in a crowd, then they will all die together. The broken spear swings his sword one last time and Chen shouts, "The battle will end here." After that, the broken spear, sinking in the sand, carefully wipes the sword with a rag and Lu Chen thinks with delight that he is still handsome. But compared to what it was before, everything is still a little worse. Suddenly someone's voice is heard. Someone screams loudly, a broken spear drowning in the sand. Chen wonders who called him, but then he sees an undead judge with an unspecified level. The information window shows a hint. The undead judge is the strongest undead in purgatory. He was born thanks to a contract. The power is unknown. The broken spear sinking in the sand gets scared and Lu Chen wonders, this high-ranking character wouldn't look for trouble with him, right? The undead judge unrolls a huge scroll on which is written in red ink, "The identification of the undying player is confirmed." After this, the brush will fall out of his mouth. He catches it and writes on the scroll that it is necessary to begin the trial. Lu Chen wonders what's going on. The undead judge makes the finishing touches and tosses the scroll to the broken spear. He looks at it and Chen realizes it's a manhunt. The scroll depicts him and says that the reward for killing this undead is 250 gold coins. The information window shows system messages. Dragon Slayer player has announced a reward for this undead player. Any player who kills these undead will receive 250 gold coins as a reward. Broken spear, sinking in the sand, angry and Lu Chen ponders 250 gold coins. Each gold coin is equal to 100 yuan. That is 25,000 yuan per kill. The dragon conqueror is trying to buy him out of the game. Now he just has to wait. A broken spear, sinking in the sand, tramples the scroll with its feet and Chen screams, "Now they will see who will leave the game first." At this moment, an information window with a notification appears. System congratulates Lu Chen for completing the Green Mantis quest. And also the system congratulates him on reaching level 10. He can return to the beginner village to begin the class change quest. The spear, sinking in the sand, jumps up and Chen joyfully exclaims, "Cool, now he can finally change classes." Suddenly the information window with the notification appears again. The unsurpassed player sent him a friend request. Will he accept it? Yes or no? Lu Chen wonders, is Shisan online? A broken spear, sinking in the sand, presses the button, and Shisan's voice is immediately heard. He asks with concern how come he is wanted again. Lu Chen answers with excitement he must have angered some rich idiot. At this time, the unsurpassed player sits hunched over near the wall of one of the buildings. Shisan asks hopefully Lu Chen hasn't changed classes yet. He is surprisingly responsible for the nutrition. And what? Du Shisan asks seriously. People think he is an easy target and will try to get his head. Chen asks worriedly, won't they come quickly? Then Shisan shouts for him to read the world chat. At this time, in the world chat, the green-faced beast of the 11th level writes that he will definitely return to the dragon. A level 12th chicken friend also writes that he is just a fool who did not have time to change classes. Level 12 Buddha Monastery's small hurricane notes that fighting and killing is bad. They must let him help him find salvation. The little king of the next door of the 13th level asks, is this guy a monk or a eunuch? The 14th level martial artist explains, everyone should listen to him carefully. This child is his reward. If anyone dares to try to catch him, that player will be killed. The little king of the next door of the 13th level exclaims irritably who he is. The green-faced beast of the 11th level writes that they are resourceful guardians. Desperately looking for a wife of the 14th level grins and writes that for the dragon to offer such a high reward, it is necessary for him to kill the entire guild. The small hurricane of the 12th level Buddha Monastery agrees with him. Lu Chen reads this and comments that they are assholes. Shisan immediately asks him what he will do. But Chen is sure to exclaim, let them come. Over the past year, he has gotten used to the fact that everyone is hunting him around the clock. Du Shisang agrees with him, right. How did he even manage to hold on? Lu Chen recalls that he spread false information, played a dead man, pretended to be a mob, hid in the rocks, and infiltrated the enemy camp using a fake account. I even played hide and seek for half a month in the boss's lair. Shisan listens to this and notes that he really has a difficult fate. The broken spear clenches his fist, tears flow from his eyes, and Lu Chen exclaims, during this year he was forced to master this art. Blood, sweat, and tears. And now he's going to show off all the fruits of his labor. A broken spear sinking in the sand takes a warlike pose, and an information window notifies that a screenshot has been taken. It offers you to share this photo with your friends or delete it. Chen asks Shisan to spread this photo and say that he is in the Morning Light Forest right now. Du Shisang asks worriedly, is he trying to lure all these people into the Morning Light Forest? Chen confirms this exactly. While they are busy there, he will have the opportunity to change classes. Shisan exclaims, "This is brilliant." A broken spear, sinking in the sand, covers the body with grass, and Lu Chen notes that for a master, this is just a basic maneuver. To avoid being noticed, camouflage is necessary. He must make a move. After this, the spear completely merges with the grass, and Chen exclaims, "Newbies can enjoy their hike." At this time, in the world chat, a professional digger of the 10th level writes that evil spirits are in the forest of morning light. The 11th level green-faced beast asks why he is hearing this from such an idiot. A level 14 black tiger writes indignantly that the guy above is too smug. But the level 14 black tiger writes that he is really in the morning light forest. He then attaches a photo and notes that this is a bonus for his friends. A tornado destroying the 11th level parking lot immediately writes that it welcomes the black tiger. A raven flying on a plane of the 13th level also writes that he welcomes a black tiger. A man with a short haircut and a flower on his head looks at the world chat and exclaims that someone has sent the location of a broken spear sinking in the sand. The knight next to him asks what. The man leaves and explains, "These are evil spirits in the forest of morning light. Will they go?" The knight immediately exclaims, of course, it's 25,000 yuan. In 2 holes in the stone, the broken spear watches what is happening. Then he stands up and Lu Chen notes that they have finally left. Then the broken spear runs away, and Chen thinks that once he passes this wasteland, beyond it will be the Hanbin cemetery that the chief mage of the village mentioned. At this moment, he remembers how Naewin told him that 10 miles outside the city of Fubin, there is a Hanbin cemetery. There he will meet the immortal swordsman Shurn. He must give him the letter, and he will be taken as a student. While the broken spear, sinking in the sand, runs, Lu Chen realizes that this is the territory of night spirits. As soon as a player from the human faction finds there, he is automatically marked by the NPS as an enemy. But his intuition tells him that since then, when the Dragon Lord found out that he was a skeleton, people should have appeared who would guard him. Once he gets through this canyon, he'll reach the cemetery. First, he would estimate the number of enemies. Well, if there are few enemies, then he can finish them off on his own. But if it's the other way around, then he'll set up a sabotage and quietly slip away. The cries of ravens are heard, and the broken spear ends up in the Hanbin cemetery. The all-seeing archer of the 12th level exclaims that everything is clear. The level 15 Little Sky Sea Dragon Knight replies that he has understood everything. They can continue. He also thinks that all 4 of them are dealing with something, so what is this, some kind of joke? At this time, the 13th level Dragon Love Triangle Warrior is sitting on the ground and worriedly thinking, is the Dragon Conqueror too generous? Protective War Mini Mountain Tai of the 14th level silently wipes the weapon with a rag. Suddenly, the all-seeing archer shouts that someone has come. They prepare their weapons, and she exclaims, he really has come. Lu Chen also looks at them and rejoices, there are only 4 people, this is the perfect time to kill them all. After this, a broken spear, sinking in the sand, comes closer to them, and the all-seeing archer pulls the bowstring. She screams for the undead to accept his fate. The information window shows the world map. The broken spear is located in the Hanbin cemetery. It is separated from the Luanshi Ridge and the newcomers' village by a wasteland. On the sides, there are carrot meadows and a forest of morning light. A spear sinking in the sand counts enemies with its fingers, and Chen understands that only an archer can attack from a distance. He needs to close the gap. He then asks them if they want to kill him on the spot. Can't they talk first? The Sea Dragon Knight of the Small Sky heads towards him and notes that he is going to discuss this. He's joking. When he stole that boss and killed their guild leader, why didn't he offer it then? Why did he retreat? A broken spear sinking in the sand also inches closer to them, and Lu Chen grinningly says, their guild is rich and powerful. Isn't it a shame for such a small skeleton like him to retreat? Maybe they will spare him and let him move on. At this time he thinks there are 10 metro left. There are still 8 meters left to the reach zone. Little Sky Sea Dragon Knight points a spear at him and exclaims, and then allow him to freely change classes. Is he that stupid? Their order is to end him once and for all. But given his attitude, he can only consider killing him once. Still, he cannot afford to be bored. Waiting for his corpse at the respawn point. Lu Chen then asks, this will take too long, so why even bother? At this moment, the broken spear, sinking in the sand, comes even closer, and Chen notes that there are only 5 meters left. The Sea Dragon Knight of the Small Sky walks around him from the side and asks with a grin, should he be released after the insult and the guild? Chen does not answer. The spear, sinking in the sand, continues to move forward, and then Lu Chen hopefully notes that there are still 3 meters left. The broken spear continues to walk, and Chen exclaims, it looks like he really offended someone. He shouldn't have done that. The sea dragon knight of the small sky holds a blade of grass in his mouth and exclaims that the ability to get rid of the chase and get all the way here in general already proves that he has good skills. But it pales in comparison to them who changed class. There are many powerful people in their guild. Even he can only take 10th place. In the future, they will be able to compete even with Shadow Candle and his guild Dragon Candle. From the moment he crossed their path, his playing career was already over. A broken spear, sinking in the sand, sits down on the ground, and Lu Chen laughingly notes that these guys are going to compete with the shadow of a candle. What a sea dragon knight of the little sky is ignorant. Protective warrior Mini Mountain Tai exclaimed that he is an idiot. He dares to laugh at them. He must die. Like him, drowning and in the sand, he lowers his head down and Chen invites them to end such a boring conversation here. He wants to show them how ignorant they are. The all-seeing archer frowns and says that he is too self-confident for the 10th level. He must die. With these words, she shoots him with a bow. Little Sky's sea dragon knight looks at this in surprise and says that she shouldn't have done that. But the broken spear, sinking in the sand, dodges, and the all-seeing archer receives critical damage, and 160 points are taken away from her. The spear bounces as the archer falls from the rock. Lu Chen notes with disdain that they placed an archer in the front row. Their teamwork really makes him laugh. Little Sky Sea Dragon's goal notes in surprise looks in surprise at the broken spear and realizes that things are bad. The broken spear wipes the sword with his cloak and Chen says that they are idiots. They stood in complete unconsciousness, watching just hundreds of meters away. The enemy was approaching directly towards them. Are they blind? Little Sky Sea Dragon Knight desperately shouts that everyone should remain calm. It's still 3 for 1. He can't change his class. Protective warrior Mini Mountain Tai agrees it's true. Then a broken spear, sinking in the sand, heads towards them, and the Little Sky Sea Dragon Knight screams for everyone to disperse. They must surround him. He attacks the spear and exclaims he must die. But the spear pushes him away with his foot, and Lu Chen shouts that it is useless. Without the support of an archer, he is invincible. At this moment, the Dragon Love Triangle Warrior swings his spear and shouts, "Killer Blade." A broken spear sinking in the sand turns around and Chen is perplexed. Is this an ambush? The broken spear tries to hold back the blow, but at that moment a protective warrior approaches and, swinging his weapon, shouts for the undead to die. He uses his shield blast. The broken spear, sinking in the forest, is still holding off the attack of the Dragon Love Triangle Warrior, and Lu Chen shouts for them to pay attention to how he will send him flying. At this moment, the weapon of a defensive warrior approaches him, but he makes a hand gesture and the weapon does not harm him. Lu Chen wonders, did the defensive warrior miss, or did he just move faster? His speed has increased. First, he will increase the distance. After this, the blade of a broken spear, sinking in the sand, clings to the blade of the killer warrior of the love triangle, and Lu Chen exclaims in confusion, "What a pity." The spear jumps up, making a heart gesture in the air, and Chen also exclaims joyfully, "Great." With his current retracement level, he may be able to challenge the shadow of the candle within 2 days or so. Now he must drive them away. How powerful he is with a delay of 7/10 of a second. Defensive War's Mini Mount Tai approaches him and exclaims, "Undead." A broken spear sinking in the sand looks at it in surprise, and the protective warrior, raising his shield up, exclaims, "Where in the ground?" Lu Chen understands that this is the charging skill of tanks. Then, in an instant, a broken spear, sinking in the sand, runs past him, causing 2 critical damage and taking away 250 points twice. Chen notes that he has such a long skill delay. He's practically a dead turtle to him. Little Sky Sea Dragon Knight looks at this and wonders how this is possible. The tank was killed in 1 blow. Suddenly he sees a spear sinking in the sand, taking away guild members 56 points, 64 points, 42 points, 58 points, and 24 points. After that, he stops and Lu Chen notes that there is only dessert left. Broken Spear approaches the Little Sky Sea Dragon Knight and shouts that he shouldn't worry, now it's his turn. The knight screams in fear to wait a little, they can discuss everything. But at this very moment, the Broken Spear deals him a critical blow and takes away 300 points. Chen apologizes and says that he doesn't want to discuss anything with his enemies. After that, he leaves the Hanbin Cemetery area. Lu Chen says that the rest of the Crazy Dragon members should arrive soon, so he better hurry inside. At this moment, among the scattered skeletons, the Little Sky Sea Dragon Knight stirs and widens his eyes in healing. The knight gets up and notes with relief that it was very close. Then he reasons the broken spear sinking in the sand should have left by now, right? Suddenly the spear comes towards him and Chen distracts him. "Hey!" Little Sky Sea Dragon Knight screams in fear, and Lu Chen asks him how he was reborn at the place of death. Is he hiding some kind of resurrection potion? The knight immediately explains no. And players who are at the 15th level, he can be reborn at the place of death after death. He just reached the 15th level. Chen hears this mentally repeating, rebirth at the point of death. After reaching level 15, he will need to be even more careful. This will be extremely problematic if the players camp around his corpse. The Sea Dragon Knight of the Small Sky carefully removes the blade that pointed the spear at him. After that, he asks with excitement, he explained everything. Can he be free? But a broken spear, sinking in the sand, hits him with a sword a couple of times and takes away 1 point of vitality. Lu Chen clarifies, wasn't he arrogant before? Why is he so timid now? The knight explains that they lost even 4-1. He is too strong, he must spare him. At this moment, an information window appears in front of the knight with a voice call from the Dragon Conqueror. He wonders with irritation why now, of all places. Then Little Sky Sea Dragon Knight is about to hang up before Spear noticed. But at this moment, Lu Chen exclaims, someone is calling him, why can't he accept the call? With these words, the spear, sinking in the sand, presses the button to accept the challenge. The knight exclaims worriedly no. The next moment, he immediately greets the young master. The Dragon Slayer exclaims he received the coordinates he sent him. He must take this place. This time they must force the broken spear, sinking in the sand, to leave the game. Suddenly Chen shouts, Dragon Slayer. His guys really are persistent little freaks. At this time, a generation of dragons is quickly heading somewhere, but suddenly stops and exclaims in bewilderment, evil spirits. Lu Chen immediately exclaims, absolutely right, it's him. He took care of his kids, and he is waiting for him at the Hanbin Cemetery. Does he want to kill him? He's too young for that. The Dragon Slayer gets angry and Chen adds, now he must listen to him carefully as he kills this boy again. Little Sky Sea Dragon Knight exclaims with tears in his eyes, no. If he dies again, he will return back to level 14. A broken spear, sinking in the sand, holds him by the hair, and he screams for the young master to save him. The Dragon Slayer shouts that the spear is broken. He must not touch the knight. But at this moment, the call is interrupted, and the information window notifies that the player has been killed. Then the Dragon Conqueror frowns and notes that he is undead. After that, he gives instructions. Some people go with him to the Hanbin Cemetery. The rest go to the respawn point. The subordinate immediately responds, okay. Then he exclaims again, undead. It will make him quit the game at level 0. At this time, someone in a cloak of a broken spear, drowning in the sand, is on the periphery of the Hanbin Cemetery. Suddenly some noise is heard, and at that moment a spear flies at him and someone shouts for this idiot to die. The Dragon Conqueror appears and orders the archers and mages to attack him. Into the tree on which the unknown person was standing, immediately subjected to numerous attacks. The Dragon Conqueror exclaims joyfully, this is what he gets for provoking his guild. But at this moment an information window appears and calls for attention. The Dragon Conqueror, the Dragon Lord, the Earth God King, the Knight Enchantress attacked Fak, the leader of the Hanbin Cemetery Patrol Squad. All members of the human faction have been marked as enemies for the Night Spirit Patrol Squad. The archers immediately exclaims in bewilderment that, why? The Dragon Lord also shouts in bewilderment, a patrol squad. At this moment, the skeleton takes off his cloak and exclaims how dare people invade their territory and attack the warlord Fak. The leader of the Night Spirit Patrol Squad, Fak, appears in front of them with an unknown level. He exclaims that they even ruined the clothes his little brother gave him. Archers of Magic exclaims, it's a trap. The Fak is approaching them in the dirt so that they prepare for the redemption of endless death. Archers and magicians run into the scattered space and exclaim, this is the end. They celebrated them at the highest level. They must run. The Dragonbender tries to hold them back and yells at them not to panic. They must maintain the formation. At this point, Fak angrily remarks that he wants to get rid of everyone. The dead must rise. After these words, the corpses begin to move and grab the legs of the killing archers. They try to resist the skeleton, which continues to crawl out of the ground and scream, they need help. They must kill everyone. This is a real curse. The Dragon Conqueror also tries to fight back with the skeleton and exclaims, it can't be. Fak orders his brothers to kill them all. Then he jumps into the air and spins the bones with the skulls. Conquer the Dragon shouts that they need to call for reinforcements. The leader of the patrol squad of night spirits, Fak, asks again, reinforcements. This is wonderful. Just killing a few of them won't be enough to quell his wrath. After this, he orders the skeletons that they must fight without mercy. No one should be left alive. They can't let these people get to level 14 and kick them out of their territory. Broken Spear watches everything happen and Lu Chen notes that it really works. Then he remembers how he came to the newcomer village and asked the magician Naivan if he had a set of clothes like the one he was wearing. He immediately answers, yes, 1 copper coin apiece. Then the broken spear, sinking in the sand, claps with him and Chen says that he will take 10 pieces. After this, the spear, sinking in the sand, comes to Fak and Lu Chen enthusiastically addresses him. He is the popular leader of the famous patrol squad of night spirits of the Handen Cemetery. He is an idol without an even number of little skeletons just like him. Fak happily replies that he really is that famous. After this spear, then he is very in the sand and presents him with a big gift, and Chen explains that he came from the countryside, and these are the best clothes from their places. Mercilessly, he hopes Fak won't look down on it. Leader of the Handen Cemetery Night Spirit Patrol Squad, Fak, immediately exclaimed that the young skeleton has great potential. After that, he tries on clothes and a spear, and the drowning man in the forest claps his hands. Lu Chen notes that these clothes are truly worthy of Captain Fak himself. This cloak suits him so well, completely reflects the dirt, dilapidation, decadence, and darkness of their night spirits. Fak agrees with him, very well said. They, the night spirits, are the dirtiest, rotten dew. After this, the broken spear, sinking in the sand, puts his hands together and Chen asks if he can make a sketch of his majestic figure so that he can admire it in the future. Fak happily answers, of course. After that, he stands leaning on a tree and asks like this. The broken spear, sinking in the sand, runs away to the side and Lu Chen replies, yes, fantastic. He shouldn't change his position, don't move, he'll go and draw fuck on the tombstone. After that, he thinks that now the crazy dragon should slow down a little. Suddenly, an information window appears in front of the spear, sinking in the forest, which announces that he is receiving awards. Lu Chen exclaims in bewilderment, these are new rewards. After a while, 3 information windows appear next to the computer, drowning in the song, and the system reports that Conquer the Dragons has declared war on the undead. People will fight to the death. Anyone who provides information about the whereabouts of the undead will receive 10 gold coins from the Mad Dragon. The bounty on the head of the undead has been raised to 500 gold coins. Conditions have been changed, now only murders. Lu Chen laughs and exclaims, the reward continues to grow. After that, he thinks that the Dragon Slayer can feel free to continue squandering his wealth. They will attract even more experts to him, who will become new steps on his path to the top. A broken spear, sinking in the sand, walks through the cemetery, then stops and finds itself in the depths of the Hanbin Cemetery. Lu Chen exclaims that it is here. Opposite him stands a statue. Then she leans over and Chen suggests that this must be the death swordsman Shurn the chief mage mentioned too. Suddenly, Shurn appears in front of the spear, drowning in the sand, and asks why he chose this path. Chen immediately exclaims, Master. He's here for advice on changing classes, but Shurn points his weapon at him and exclaims that he must die. Lu Chen thinks irritably, it can't be. He can't dodge it. Then, broken by a spear, sinking in the sand, hands him an envelope. Chen explains that this is a letter from the main magician of the village. Death swordsman Shurn with an unknown level takes the envelope and clarifies, is this a message from Naivan? Lu Chen is relieved, thinking that it was almost certain death. And why is this NPS so strong? The next moment Shurn notes that Naivan praises the young skeleton in the letter. His cunning shines, so he will follow his friend's advice and take him on as his disciple. But he must keep in mind that they, as swordsmen of death, need to have the dullest soul and body. Lu Chen immediately exclaims, okay, master. Shurn strokes the broken spear and exclaims, wonderful. And now he will call upon his talent. After that, he casts a spell. The dormant Lord of Death must wake up. He must unleash its dead power over the earth, overthrow all the rules that bind the world. The descendants of the immortals must awaken the innate gifts inherent only in a broken spear sinking in the sand. At this moment, violet energy waves appear around him, which accumulate in his palm. An information window appears, notifying that he has successfully mastered the talent and may not live. The power of immortals is a first-level talent. Awakening the dormant power of the undead deals 5% damage to all units that have lost their lives. The effect of the talent grows by 5% with each level, up to a maximum of the 10th level. The spear, sinking in the sand, clenches its fist, and Chen notes that at the maximum level, this boost is 50% damage. So cool. Then the death swordsman Shurn says that his potential is amazing. He awakened such a strong dead force. Now he grants him the status of a swordsman of death. Shurn raises his sword up and officially announces that in the name of the executioner, he grants the broken spear the right to exterminate spirits in the territories of all kingdoms. Energy forces with a purple glow appear in the air. A broken spear, sinking in the sand, raises his hands up and Lu Chen exclaims, like a night spirit, he relies on the mighty power of crying. Suddenly he wonders, is he obsessed? Energy waves penetrate the spear, sinking into the sand, and Chen notes that he can move again. And it's all? Suddenly, an information window appears, which notifies that the system does not allow through achieving the status of a swordsman of death. The system also congratulates the Sky for receiving 5 free attribute points. In addition, the system allows you to receive 1 unit of reputation and 1 unit of luck. Lu Chen reads this and exclaims, "Great, now it needs an attributes panel." The information window opens the attributes panel, and the information statistics show that its main attributes have been upgraded. Life up to 100, health up to 225, mana up to 205, strength up to 25, agility up to 9. Additional attributes have also been added. Attack from 30 to 46, physical defense up to 25, movement speed up to 25, reputation up to 2, magic resistance up to 15, attack speed up to 25, luck up to 1. Under the spear, sinking in the sand, a purple glow emanates and Chen joyfully exclaims, "What a terrifying power this is. This is incredible." Afterwards, this spear, sinking in the sand, looks in the mirror and Chen wonders why he is still a skeleton. Death Swordsman Shern approaches him and explains that there is a long way ahead. The skeleton is the basis of their species. He has great bones. Here are 3 books of skills for him to grow. Chen immediately thanks the master. But Shern holds out the books and exclaims, "Not so fast." Skill books are a priceless treasure, but considering their friendship, he will give these books for less. Lu Chen clarifies should he pay. Exclaims that 1 skill book costs 5 silver coins. Will he pay in cash or take on credit? Like her, drowning in the sand with tears, he gives him a bag of money. Shern waves his hand to hurry up. Lu Chen explains that he completed the mission, stole the boss, and only received 24 silver coins. Shern has just opened his mouth and already wants 50%. Can the master, as a student, give him a small discount? Shern takes the bag and exclaims that this is already a discount. Then he snatches the bag and shouts for the spear, which is sinking in the sand, to let it go. After this, Shern explains that his books are of high value. He's already selling it at a loss. At this time, a broken spear, sinking in the sand, examines the books and Chen exclaims that this already looks like some kind of scam. Then the spear casts a spell and Chen exclaims, now he needs to open the skill book. An information window appears and notifies that fencing basics increases damage from sword-type weapons by 5%. The main skill of the Sword of Death. Grasp of the Undead is a search in pipes. The ability to find additional items, cost 5 mana, cooldown 3 seconds. The Punishing Blade deals 110% damage to the target, costs 18 mana, cooldown 15 seconds. Lu Chen notes that the basic fencing and Punishing Blade boosted his level by as much as 15%, which is a 20% increase after changing classes. The information window shows the character's skills. A broken spear sinking in the sand with the Death Swordsman class has 0 skill points. The power of the Undead is 1 out of 10, again fencing is 1 out of 10, active skills is the grip of the Undead 1 out of 10, the Punishing Blade is 1 out of 10. Chen notes that before, his skills only dealt damage increased by a fixed percentage, but now it also increases by a percentage. This means that at the last levels his increase will be incredible. Death Swordsman is a really strong class. After that, he turns to the master and says that the best way to improve his skills is through battle, if he has any tasks for him. Shern at this time looks with delight at the bag of money, then turns around and seems to exclaim, he really is a greedy child. He likes it. After that, he throws him 3 scrolls and says that the broken spear, sinking in the sand, must complete this quest, destroy those skeletons who entered into an alliance with people. The information window notifies that a broken spear sinking in the sand has received the Skeleton Phalanx quest, quest rank F+. The details of the quest are that he must go to the necropolis, kill 50 skeleton soldiers and collect 10 phalanxes, then bring Shorn to the Swordsman of Death. After reading this, Lu Chen, that the master can be sure he will complete this task. After some time in the necropolis, a skeleton soldier teases the skeletons with a dog bone. A spear creeps towards him, sinking in the sand. The skeleton soldier rises sharply and waves his weapon, shouting who is coming. A spear sinking in the sand uses a punishing blade and inflicts a critical blow on the skeleton and takes away 500 points. At the same moment, 14 experience points are added to the spear. Lu Chen notes that his damage has actually become truly monstrous. Suddenly, energy flames appear around the killed skeleton soldier, and an accumulation of energy approaches the spear, sinking in the sand. Chen wonders, what is this? He screams for it to die. At this moment, the spear attacks a cloud of energy. But in the next moment, Lu Chen notes with surprise that it passes right through. This is bad. Then the clot of energy throws a spear, sinking in the sand, and a luminous purple point appears near his chest, from which energy rays emanate. On the world map, it is noted that the spear, sinking in the sand, is located in the Hanbin Cemetery, where it fights with a skeleton soldier. Lu Chen remembers the impact of the Gur energy and notes that the feeling was so good. An information window appears and notifies that he is a spear sinking in the sand and has absorbed a spark of the soul. Then he holds this spark in his hand. Chen thinks, and what was that? Why did it feel so good? He then has to look it up on the forum. The next moment, the computer knocks on the skeleton soldier's helmet and uses a death grip. Lu Chen wonders what additional treasures this skill can give him. An information window immediately appears notifying you that this is torn fabric. Low quality, no use, and no value. A spear sinking in the sand holds matter in his hand. Lu Chen notes that it is torn fabric. Can't be. It's absolutely useless. The spear runs away and Chen exclaims that now it is necessary to kill more. It can't be that all these skeletons are poor. The information window shows a tooltip. 49 out of 50 skeleton soldiers were killed. 9 phalanxes of skeletons out of 10 have been assembled. Suddenly, one of the skeleton soldiers appears and shouts that the Kapu, sinking in the sand, must stop running away. But the spear swings. Chen screams for him to die. Then the spear, sinking in the sand, attacks the skeletons of the soldier, but he holds back the attack. Then Chen is surprised. He can rotate 180. Then the skeleton soldier uses a whirlwind blade and shoots, sinking in the sand and flies to the side. He hits the tombstone. Lu Chen continues to wonder, can he use skills? This is interesting, but still it is full of shortcomings. With no one moving, the spear, sinking in the sand, attacks the skeleton soldiers and takes away 190 health points. An information window appears and informs you about the current progress of the quest. 50 skeleton soldiers out of 50 were killed and 10 phalanx of skeletons out of 10 were assembled. Then another information window appears, which notifies that the spear sinking in the sand has completed the skeleton phalanx quest. He can go to the Hanbin Cemetery for a reward. He reached level 11. A spear sinking in the sand clenches a fist from which pink energy emanates. Chen exclaims, "This is awesome." The next moment, the information window shows the characteristics of the attributes. Life points were increased to 235, and mana was increased to 215. Then the spear, then he generally in the sand reaches out his hand to the skull of the skeleton. Lu Chen notes with a sigh that he collected 49 pieces of torn fabric. 50 pieces will not hurt. It was a death grip. But the next moment, a purple stone appears above the skeleton's skull. The spear, sinking in the sand, takes the stone, and Chen notes that a small magic stone is indeed better than torn fabric. But this is still a necropolis. He approaches the place in the necropolis where Tsingu is buried. Lu Chen notes that these breaststones here are very tall. Suddenly someone appears in front of the spear, sinking in the sand. This is a level 15 Tsingu skeleton. Lu Chen is very surprised and exclaims, "This is a giant. Is this a mini-boss?" The scurvy skeleton asks him where this little skeleton came from, who dared to enter their territory. He swings his weapon and screams for him to die. The next moment, his scream is heard and the scurvy skeleton falls to the ground. Lu Chen wonders what. Why is this guy lighter than a soldier somewhere? An information window appears, which notifies that scurvy skeletons, the main type along with zinc burials, these giants also have relatively little combat power. They work well in teams and move in groups. Chen repeats out loud, "Does not move with rough dots. That is, it means something." At that moment, a spear flies towards him. The spear, sinking in the sand, dodges. Lu Chen realizes that he just got mad and went to the nest. The spear stops in bewilderment. At this moment, other Xingqiu skeletons appear, shouting that he must be killed. They must attack him. One of the Xingqiu skeletons swings and tries to attack the spear, which is sinking in the sand. But he holds off the attack with his sword, and Lu Chen notes that this is an impressive strength. However, not all are still too weak. The next moment, he jumps up and attacks the skeleton into scurvy. They shout that they must crush him. Many weapons are flying towards him. But the spear, sinking in the sand, evades everything. Chen notes that this can last indefinitely. Suddenly, the spear notices something and turns to the side. More scurvy skeletons rush towards him, shouting that they are here. They must skin him. Lu Chen exclaims, "There's so many of them." He then asks the giant tombstone to lend him power. After that, like a broken spear drowning in the sand, it jumps up, makes a crack in the tombstone, and pushes it with its foot. Chen screams for it to fall down now. One of the scurvy skeletons sees this and exclaims, "This is the tombstone of the second ant." Another scurvy skeleton screams, "What are they doing?" They must run. The next moment, a huge tombstone falls on them, and one of the scurvy skeletons screams that he needs help. Lu Chen orders them to retreat now. Suddenly, the broken spear, sinking in the sand, feels some kind of pressure. He hears skeletons calling someone boss. The broken spear turns and sees the scurvy skeletons bowing their heads and exclaiming, "Their lord has come." Suddenly, the lord uses magical powers and raises his spear. He sees their brothers underneath and tells them to get up. Then he turns to the spear, sinking in the sand, and exclaims, with what audacity he harms his subjects. The broken spear, sinking in the sand, turns around and looks at him in bewilderment. The lord then exclaims that the Kingu skeletons must delay him. Lu Chen immediately exclaims that things are bad. The lord begins to use magical powers and exclaim that this insignificant worm must die. An undead Lord King Yi of an unknown level appeared, with magical energy sparkling around his hand. The system window reports that he has encountered an enemy superior in skill to him. Please, he should save himself immediately. Chen thought about it, unknown level, then it is at least 20 levels above him. This is bad, now he is surrounded by scurvy skeletons. What did they mean by being saved? They're coming. What? Even using the punishing blade, he cannot cut their bones. King Yi shouted at him to accept his fate and began to use his magical powers. Chen looked at this and realized that a terrifying power was approaching him. There was a loud noise in the room, and suddenly a concrete slab rose up and headed towards the Chen. He noticed this and realized what was happening. It must be the management of the Handen Cemetery. King Yi asked if he would have his last words. Chen showed him the middle finger and said who he was scaring with this broken tombstone. He really thinks he's an emperor. King Yi looked at him in bewilderment. His red eyes glowed. He gritted his teeth with a thirst for revenge and said back with a smile, "Excellent. He will pay for his arrogance." He raised his glowing hand into the air and created a bright light with one finger, after which he directed his powers towards the Chen and shouted to him to die. Chen thought about it. He really fell for it. At that moment, he grabbed the sword and struck it against the stone slab, after which he waved his hand and said goodbye to him. The scurvy skeletons were surprised and began to discuss among themselves, did it fly away? It really took off. Everyone stared at the flying slab at an incredibly fast speed. King Yi's body shook, and he shouted with rage, "What are they waiting for? They need to run after him." The skeletons shouted back to him that they had heard his order and were proceeding to carry it out. After some time, a stone slab formed in the necropolis, on which there were inscriptions of gratitude to the Lord of the Lines for the generous gift, as well as a drawing of a Chen in the form of a skeleton. The Tsingis looked at this inscription with questioning expressions on their faces and began to discuss the fact that the words here were carved beautifully and the design was also good. One of them said that he liked the heart better. King Yi heard this, directed his powers towards them, and shouted that they were just idiots. None of them could catch him. One of the Kingu apologized to the Lord for such behavior, and King Yi shouted with incredible anger that he needed to track him down, find him, and kill him. Handen Cemetery, the skeleton told the master, "Here are the phalanxes according to his order. Everything is here." The system window reports that the player, Broken Spear, sinking in the sand, has completed the skeleton phalanx quest. Shurn said in response that this is very good, but here is his reward. The system window reports that he received 1,200 experience points, plus 5 reputation points and shining bracelets. The system also congratulates the player Broken Spear, sinking in the sand on reaching level 12. Shining bracelets, quality, black stone armor, physical resistance +8, magical resistance +4, strength +2, required level 10. He was very happy about this and realized that this really cool. The characteristics of the attributes also changed. His health increased to 245, mana to 225, strength 27. Attack from 31 to 48, defense 33, reputation 7, magic resistance 19 points. Another item for Blackstone equipment. One step left to collect the complete set. His attributes have also increased, although he still can't handle the Undead Lord. He can start raising scurvy skeletons to level up. Shurn, with a menacing look, asked him a question. Did he encounter the scurvy skeletons and the Lord of the Undead? He answered yes, and he barely managed to survive. Shurn touched his shoulder and said, "Child, since he has already encountered the Lord of the Undead, this quest is for him." Recently, the Lord below began preparing a large army to attack the Hanbin Cemetery. He received a system notification after receiving the task, the Lord of the Undead King E+ rank. Objective 1, kill 200 scurvy skeletons, collect 20 phalanxes of scurvy skeletons. He will receive Blackstone equipment, 2200 experience points, and 21 reputation. Objective 2 is to destroy 200 thorny skeletons and collect 40 phalanxes of thorny skeletons. He will receive Blackstone equipment, 3000 experience points, and 45 reputation points. Task 3, you need to confront the guards of the Lord of the Undead and buy time for the Shorns, so that he kills the Lord of the Undead Kin'ee. He will receive bronze equipment, 500 experience points, and 100 reputation. Chen thought, looking at this, although the rewards for the missions are very generous, the last mission was rank F+, this jumps straight to the E+ level. Shern told him, do not seek your destiny among dangers, and as long as the Lord of the Undead Shadow absorbs his spark of soul, he will be safe. Chen asked what exactly this spiritual spark provides. Shern replied, the spark is the essence of the undead. The Night Spirits consist of 4 main clans that rule over all the others. The Undead clan is the most numerous among all, whereas the Dark Elves are the ones who stand at the pinnacle of magical practices. And lastly, Ghosts, who are immune to all physical attacks. Chen asked in surprise, the most numerous? He feels like their clan is a little weaker compared to the others. Shern spoke to him with anger among the 4 clans. Only the undead are capable of absorbing soul sparks for endless evolution. At least they are the most powerful among the night spirits. He thought, endless evolution really sounds amazing. What happens if his spark is absorbed? He replied that in that case he would go to the abyss, exile from this world. Chen mentally wondered, exile from this world. This doesn't mean that his account is deleted, right? Shern shouted, this is the essence of their undead clan, absorb or be absorbed. Soldiers, undead, generals, lords, and kings, and ultimately ascend as a being equal to the divine. He asked again, equal to the divine. Absolute Lord of the Undead, monarch of all night spirits, Asura. Asura is the path of constant evolution for the undead to gain glory. He may no longer have such a chance, but in his opinion, he definitely has, and will definitely achieve success in the future. Chen muttered something in response, after which he walked towards the exit, raised his hand, and said with confidence, okay, he will continue to hunt the scurvy skeletons. Shern asked him to be careful, because he is the hope of their city, as well as his. The boundaries of the scurvy burial, there were many level 15 skeletons, as well as a bird skeleton on the head of one of them. They looked around questioningly, and one of the scurvy said, it's always croaking upward, is there something there? The tombstone is extremely high, how could someone climb there? Another said, that's right, how could they even get up there? It must be a different bird. Chen, who was hiding behind one of the stone slabs and spying on the monsters, realized that it was close, and now decides to see what they are up to. He went down to the ground and continued to think. 30 minutes passed. It seems he checked everything. There are 8 patrol groups, a team of 5 skeletons, and a male bird that must die before alerting the patrol about him. And the most annoying part is that every 10 minutes 2 patrols come across him. Basically, as soon as he attacks, he gets triggered timer, and the remaining half always discovers that something is wrong. Quite a difficult task lies ahead of him. Suddenly, some loud sounds were heard, and he headed towards one of the skeletons and shouted, in which case he starts, the timer began counting down. He attacked the skeletons, who were dumbfounded with fear, and tried to say something, but Chen had already managed to destroy one of them with sharp movements, and Chingu realized that it was quite quickly. Magic light filled the area, and the groans of skeletons were heard, which one after another began to be destroyed. One of them shouted with a terrifying look, this is the use of a skill. Chen grabbed the sword, which emitted a bright pink color, but Kingu shouted back at him, how dare he do something like that? He must die. He used the punishing blade, and many bright rays filled the area, thereby hitting many monsters and reducing the health of these creatures by a large number of points. In his thoughts were the words that he needed to be faster. A single shining phalanx appeared above the attacked skeleton. Chen came closer and wondered, is there only one phalanx? The drop rate is very low. He grabbed the phalanx, the timer read 1 minute, 40 seconds, 56 milliseconds. It's almost 2 minutes already. He doesn't have time to grab the undead. At this rate, he'll meet the next team in 7 minutes. Will he be able to finish the next fight in a minute? He offers to find out about it. After some time, the scurvy skeletons looked into the distance in fear and wondered what happened. They saw many lying on the ground and attacked by scurvy, as well as a destroyed bird. One of them said, are all 8 patrols really dead? If they hadn't changed the route, no one would have known about it. Should they report this? They thought about this with a feeling of fear, and one of them shouted at the other, the guy who ran away had already angered their master. If the owner finds out about this, he will be thoroughly disappointed in them. It's clear? The skeleton replied, understandably, after which he remembered how the owner shouted that they needed to double the number of patrols, adjust the number of personnel, and equip a copy of the team with 4 male birds, expand your search area. He must not leave. The system window notifies that the scurvy skeleton is 40 out of 200. The phalanx skeletons are 4 out of 20. Cemetery of Life. Chen sat on one of the coffin slabs with a flower in his hand and looked towards the notice and said out loud, "These were all the Kingu skeletons on the outskirts, but the mission is still far from over, and now he can only go deeper to track them down. But level 13 after defeating 40, and then completing this mission should get him to level 15. I wonder what rank he currently has." The system window reports the leaderboard. The Fuban City rank levels are as follows. 1 is Orion, level 18, Undead Knight. 2nd Gwendolyn, level 16, Ranger of Light. 3rd Adrian Lunargent, level 16, Magician. 4 is Seraphina, Silver Wind, level 16, Archer. 5 is Berenger, level 16, Dark Knight. And this is Reinhard, level 16, Warrior. He thought, level 18, truly in a league of his own, probably a leveling fanatic. I wonder where he is at level 13. After which he saw that he is ranked at level 125. And he thought, he was always in the top 100, and now he is at 125. This question cannot be. He must take back what belongs to him. He shouted loudly, "Undead Knight," after which he jumped and ominously looked into the distance, where he saw Orion approaching him. When he realized this, he was very surprised. Chen looked in his direction and asked, "Is this his reward?" He answered, "Yes, more precisely 50,000 gold coins." He never expected to run into him. Chen's body glowed with a pink glow, and he said, touching his sword, "His reward is not easy to earn." Orion reported that otherwise it would be devoid of pleasure, but good. He threw the sheets with hieroglyphs to the ground, and a confrontation began between them. Chen made a sharp movement and dodged the blow from Orion, who fearfully wondered if he could really avoid it. His health dropped to 10, then to 9, and Orion said, "Not so fast." Chen jumped into the distance, and they again found themselves opposite each other. He looked at him with a swift gaze and thought, the reaction speed is slower than him, but the defense is really good. Is this an advantage of the Undead Knight class? Orion shouted to him with an ominous look on his face, "He is pretty good and should come here." Chen prepared to attack and grabbed the sword tightly in his hands, and a moment later, the Orion weapon was already visible in the reflection of his eyes, and he realized that this would happen now. He suddenly pulled out his sword and their weapons collided. Orion wondered in confusion what was going on. His timing was impeccable, instantly putting his spear out of play. Chen shouted at him not to hesitate, first rank. After these words, he attacked him with a sword, and after a loud sound, a bright beam of light appeared between them. Orion flew to the side and his health dropped to 90. He was attacked, but stopped and looked at him in surprise, after which he shouted that now it was his turn. He rushed to run into battle and again grabbed his spear, which glowed blue. Chen avoided this and said that it was not bad, just too slow. He swung his weapon and tried to strike, but suddenly his body shook. He grabbed his head and shouted, "His head." Horrible. Health dropped to 135 and he flew to the side, and then suddenly landed and wondered what it was all about. Did his head explode? Orion jumped up, swung his spear and shouted to him not to hesitate, "Indestructible guy." Chen rose a little, looked up, and suddenly their weapons collided with each other again. Chen clenched his teeth from the lack of any strength and screamed. They continued to resist. A bright spark occurred between the weapons. Orion was able to throw the sword aside with one deft movement. Chen reached out with his hand and shouted, "No!" Orion shouted back, "Wow, not so fast, buddy." And his health decreased by 20, Chen began to fall to the ground with thoughts that he had lost his sword and completely half of his health, while he practically lost nothing. That's what? The spear of Orion was approaching his face, and he screamed for him to die. Chen saw the spear approaching and realized the dire situation of the situation, and a moment later he was thrown aside. Many stones were scattered everywhere from his collision with some stone slabs. Orion looked at him with rage and said, "It's over." Chen rose to his feet with his arms crossed and wondered how he was able to block the blow. His whole body was trembling. Orion noticed this and asked the question, "Is he still alive?" "This is wonderful." He snapped his fingers and decided to activate the recording, after which a skull with wings appeared above his body, and he said that he forgot that only registered kills count. So what does he do? A wet leaf from a tree flew over him, and suddenly, with several sharp movements, he made the leaf tremble, and the eagle looked at him questioningly and asked what was happening. How did this happen? From one leaf a whole branch turned out, Chen was very happy and shouted loudly that his reaction delay was reduced by a full 0.5 seconds to 0.25 seconds. This made him laugh a lot, and he said that there was an excellent laboratory rat. Master rank number 1, he proposes to start the second round. Orion was in full readiness, grabbed his spear, and said to him with rage, "Idiot, he doesn't even have his sword. How dare he be so impudent?" They stood opposite each other, and Orion said, to defeat him, 2 fingers will be enough. The eagle got angry and shouted back, "What a freak, how dare he underestimate him like that?" He attacked him using magical powers and shouted angrily for him to die. A bright light was already near the face of Chen, who told him he is of course strong, but he did not finish speaking. He touched his spear with his finger and with a slight movement changed the direction of the weapon, after which he said that he was very slow. Orion asked in bewilderment what was happening. He was very alarmed by these actions, and he screamed, how could he repel his attack with 1 finger? This is simply impossible. He wants it again. He again threw a spear in his direction and shouted, continuous blow. Chen repeated his finger movements several times before turning to Orion and informing him that his attack had failed. Orion said in response, but he is so weak that he can only block the most ordinary piercing attack. Now they'll see how he can fend it off. Spinning spear. Chen asked him again, reflect. The spear headed towards him, and he asked again, is this the attack he needs to block? This is very funny. The spear ended up near his body and went right through. Orion screamed with anger. His spear went right through. Why didn't it cause him any harm? Chen ran up to him and shouted back, Orion, now is not the time to count crows. After this statement, he kneed him in the face, which reduced his health to 11 and jumped up to create the next attack. The eagle was scared and wondered what it was now. A moment later, Chen grabbed the edge of his spear and threw it aside, attacking Orion, whose health had dropped to 12, and shouted to him that this was what he needed. After this, Chen rose up and delivered another blow, as a result of which Orion fell to the ground and realized that this was terrible because he missed the blow. The spear was thrown to the ground, and Orion was also left without a weapon, as he was informed by Chen with a smirk, who walked to his sword, pulled it out of the stone slab, and began a standard attack. He took several loud steps towards him with a menacing look, after which he jumped sharply and announced that it was all over, Orion. A moment later, he struck him with a strong and loud blow, but a magical protective barrier formed around Orion's body, and he spoke indestructible. His body is covered with ghostly armor, and it will not be so easy to break it. Chen struck his barrier, and his health decreased by 35. He swung his sword again, after which he landed on the ground and realized that he had strong armor. Suddenly, he looked questioningly at Orion and realized that he really had a spare weapon, which he was already pointing in his direction and shouting at him to die and get what he deserved with rage. He swung it hard, a bright light illuminated the entire area, and a moment later, there was an explosion with flames. The system window reports that the invulnerability indicator of the ghost armor is close to 0. Within 15 seconds, the player's strength is weakened, and the defense indicator is reduced by 80%. Orion said with a grin, he will finish him off in the end. Suddenly, in the thick of the flames, a loud sound occurred and Chen came out, who asked again, will he finish him off? Suddenly, he began to run up and shout that he would still have to work hard for this. The unarmed Orion was dumbfounded by the surprise of such a sharp attack and shouted that he took advantage of Hades' fiery blow. Why didn't anything happen to him? Chen shouted back, Orion, he's asking too many questions. At that moment, he dealt a serious blow to him, and his health decreased by 106 points, and he thought, what a horror, his armor rating is too low. Chen thought with joy that the simple strike had taken away 106 health points. It looks like his armor has dropped a lot. This is the perfect opportunity to kill him, Orion. He made a sharp movement with his hand, and a bright beam of light pierced Orion, whose head had been cut off. Chen looked into the distance and said, the first rank is quite strong, but it's a pity that he crossed paths with him. The system reports a hint, the player Orion is now offline. Chen asked, and he immediately passed out. Was he scared or what? Time 11:45 p.m. House Orion. He looked at the computer screen and could not believe what was happening. Even at a slow speed of 0.5, he could not see what happened. A guy named Gongsun Gu appeared to Orion, and he wondered how this guy could do this. He wants to go through it frame by frame. He quickly began typing letters on the keyboard and watching the video gradually. But suddenly, he was surprised and spoke. His skinny body was able to avoid the attack due to the fact that he moved backwards, and then returned to the reverse position, and because of which his spear passed across. That's speed. Good job. And only the strongest masters are capable of this. He can't miss such a master. He took off his VR helmet with a joyful expression on his face. Chen looked into the distance questioningly. Shenming burial area. Gong Sun-gu returned to the game, looked around, and wondered if he had gone offline or something. Or did you go on assignments? And it doesn't matter where he is, he'll get it from anywhere. But at that moment, Chen sneezed loudly, sitting on a stone slab on the border of the Kingu burial place, and wondered if he had caught a cold. Is anyone still discussing it? Why does he keep sneezing? At this moment, he heard someone shouting. The scurvy skeleton was screaming, who dared to attack them. Now I have to work on patrol, even on days off. What a freak, he just made a date with a skeletal lady, and such a romantic evening will not happen. This freak only knows how to attack silently. Yes, this coward won't even show himself, because there are many of them. He must be very lonely, because he doesn't even have a partner, and he looks like he has a very frail body. Chen thought angrily, a freak and a coward with a frail body. At that moment, he jumped from the slab directly onto the skeletons, mentally saying, "Lonely dog." The skeletons noticed something was wrong, raised their heads, and wondered in bewilderment who was there. One of them saw the Chen and could not understand how this happened, and at that moment his body was cut into 2 parts by the sword of the Chen, who said that he would kill them all. Bright sparks illuminated the divisions of their bodies, and a moment later they fell to the ground. Chen turned in the other direction and said with a furious look that these were vile skeletons. Who is the lonely dog here? He just didn't want to upset the master. He climbed onto the body of one of the skeletons and continued to scream, and in addition to calling him that, he also said that his body was frail. What a freak. The skeletons began to talk to each other and shout, "It's him. He is the skeleton freak that Mr. Boy King Yu wants to get. He was the one who attacked the patrol. We need to quickly call for reinforcements and release the crows. The rest must follow him." Many crows flew over the bodies of the skeletons in a hurry. Northeast of the border, the 6th team was attacked by the enemy. Northeast, enemy attack. The 2 skeletons walked straight up to Chen and told him with menacing looks that he had to prepare to die. "You idiot." He replied that it was very smart to use decentralized communication. The skeleton made a sharp swing and shouted at him to get hit. Chen grinned, and the skeleton called the rest of the skeletons to fight and destroy Chen. After a strong blow from the weapon, a lot of sand flew away from the earth, and suddenly one of the skeletons became alert and dumbfounded, after which he again headed for the Chen and shouted that this was simply impossible. How did he dodge the attack so easily? Another shouted, they need to act without panic. He is alone, and their reinforcements will arrive soon. He shouted back, yes, we need to hang him up. Chen smiled and said, that's great, he hopes everyone else will come soon. He found himself between many huge monsters, and his body glowed with magical light, after which he began to shout that at least he would not be bored when he killed them all. The magical light spread everywhere with incredible speed and roar. The boundary of the scurvy burial. Raven flew there and announced loudly that in the northeast cemetery, the 6th team was attacked by the enemy. The 1st team rushed to the rescue. Many birds reported this several times and called on the other skeletons to come to the rescue. The head of the guard of the Tsingu skeletons heard this and shouted to the rest of the skeletons that they need to act quickly, since he is in the northeast of the tomb. They need to move faster and not let him get away. They rushed towards the Chen with incredible speed, and the skeleton shouted that they were already close, but suddenly a bright ray of light hit him in the back, and he realized with fear that something had happened to his neck, but did not understand what exactly happened. He stopped and looked behind him, when suddenly the skeleton turned to him and shouted the question, how is he doing? Suddenly the boss saw 2 blown-off heads of his subordinates and shouted about it. After a strong blow, magic rays from sword swings and loud squeals were visible all around. The boss shouted angrily, who did this? He saw a Chen in a cloak standing with his back to him and shouted, it's him. He's the skeletal freak. Chen turned around, holding a sword in his hand, and said in response, there is no longer the same speed and accuracy, but there is another prey. The system window reports a hint, skeleton scurvy 215 out of 200, skeleton finger 16 out of 20. The head of the skeletons got angry and shouted at him, freak. Shouldn't it be on the east side of the tomb? Chen spoke back, his reinforcements are too slow, he alone will be enough. He raised his hands up, using the bright energy, and the characteristic of the skeleton finger changed to 19 out of 20. He swung his sword and said, enough chatter. The skeleton cursed at him for being very arrogant, and Chen shouted at him to die. A fierce fight began between them. They wished each other death and rushed into battle, but suddenly a bright red ray of light appeared between them, and the skeleton wondered with a dumbfounded look what was happening. After a moment, he fell to the ground with an incredible roar, and an illuminated phalanx appeared above his body. Chen smiled and said with a satisfied expression on his face, everything is ready. The system window reports the characteristics. Tsingu skeleton 216 out of 200, skeleton finger 20 out of 20. He is congratulated on defeating the Tsingu skeleton. He must go to Hanbin for a reward. Chen looked at his hand and said, after a delay of 0.2 seconds, it was not so easy for Scurvy to deal with the skeletons. Meanwhile, in Hanbin, there was a roar of wind and many rounded objects with a cutout square inside were flying everywhere. Chen calmly walked along the path and said that he did not know what reward he would get this time, but he hoped that it would be armlets. And after receiving prizes for the mission, he needs to find a place to repair cracked weapons. Suddenly something alerted him. He stopped and wondered if he could really hear someone crying. 3 people appeared in front of him, 2 of whom were carrying the coffin. Chen looked at them in bewilderment. The skeleton approaching him shouted, "Shaq." He was only 500 years old. He left them at such a young age, going crazy. Chen heard these words and thought, a member of the patrol team was beheaded. It looks like an additional mission. You can't miss such a moment. He raised his hand and shouted, "Captain Fuck, what is he doing here?" He answered, greeting him, the little skeleton who gave the gift. They haven't seen each other for a long time. Something happened to their patrol team. His brother Shaq, an excellent scout, was attacked by a bear with an iron back, and all he found was his headless body. Chen spoke back, "This is so terrible." He continued to shout, it was their patrol group that was responsible for security in Hanbin, and they could not leave without avenging their brother. Chen agreed with him. What a terrible bear with an iron back. How dare he quietly attack? He will kill him and will definitely return his brother's head. The skeleton told him, grabbing him by the shoulder, "Guy, now he knows their common goal. He has a future. He leaves him the opportunity to get his head back." Chen told him that he could provide it for him. The system window reports that he has received the task. The bear with an iron back, rank F class. He needs to go to Hanbin and within an hour kill the bear with an iron back, return the head of the shack to the Captain Fack, and the reward for this execution will be a weapon made of black stone, 20 reputation points, and 2,000 experience points. Chen read the assignment and asked, is this a timed assignment? Well, it's time for him to hit the road. But before that, he needs to fix his weapon. The skeleton asked him if he wanted to repair the weapon. There is a death forge 500 meters to the east. He can go there. Chen thanked him for the news, and after some time he arrived at the death forge. He stopped in front of the majestic building and said, so he arrived here, but only Chen interrupted his thoughts and walked up to the old man who was sitting on the ground and smoking a pipe, asking him a question. When did he start working in the workshop? He replied that he had many abilities and skills. He rose from his seat, grabbed a long cane, stood in front of Chen, and told him that they had not seen him for a long time, calling him a kid. Does he want to forge, improve, or repair equipment? Chen replied he would like to repair the weapon, but repairing the weapon requires physical exertion. Can he handle this? The old man frowned and said in response that he was afraid that he had not yet learned all the power of the old man. As he shouted these words, he waved his cloak, quickly put on his apron, and was completely ready for his work. He only needs to fix a couple of guns. Why bother with it? He must put the weapon in his hands. Chen agreed and served it, after which the old man began to recite. First, the weapon is placed in the furnace to absorb heat, and then it is beaten back. He began to perform these actions and pronounce them so that he would pay more attention to his work. He demonstrated the correct execution of blacksmithing and processed the sword. Chen was surprised and said, the headman is simply amazing. The blacksmith continued to talk. Next comes hardening. A bright light illuminated the entire area, and a moment later, the sword was completely ready and sparkling with purity. The blacksmith held it up, took a deep breath, and announced that everything was ready. Chen took the sword in his hands and said with a surprised expression, Headman, this is amazing. This looks like a new sword. He put his cloak back on, sat down and spoke, but he didn't believe in him. He is the most first-class idolin blacksmith. Chen asked Headman, how much does his work cost? He said, 1 silver coin is enough. He took the coin in his hands. Chen walked towards the exit, and with a smile on his face, thought that there were 45 minutes left for the mission of the bear with an iron back. This time would be enough. Hanbin Trail. The system window reports that this is a very dangerous path, because both the light faction and the dark faction fought for this. He walked into the distance, and the system reported that he was on the right side of the pine forest. Chen reasoned that walking in the middle would give him a better view. He moved, and the system reported that he was on the left side of the pine forest. Chen wondered, where is this bear with an iron back? If this is a bear, then in theory it should live in a pine forest. Bear with an iron back. He began to call the bear with diminutive names, but suddenly stopped abruptly and looked into the distance with wariness, realizing that it was a bear with an iron back sleeping right in front of him. What a huge creature this is. Suddenly, the bear opened its bright eyes, stretched its nose upward, and began to think, this is waking up. Is it time for him to act? The bear noticed him in front of him, examined him carefully, and suddenly went back to sleep. Chen wondered if he had fallen asleep again. What a stupid bear this is. His enemy is here, and this one is still sleeping and doesn't seem to take him seriously. Chen ducked for a run and suddenly stood up and jumped, swinging his sword at the bear's body and shouting that he would cut off the creature's head. The bear sharply opened his eyes, and a piercing red light appeared in the pupils of the monster. Chen hit this creature with a sword and his health decreased by 12 points, and he thought, this creature has such strong armor. It absorbed all of his damage. The monster raised its paw and decided to step on Chen, who abruptly tried to dodge the blow and again deal damage to the monster, reducing its health by 10. When he jumped to the side, he thought that this bear was very clumsy. Could such a beast secretly kill a Shaka scout in a sneak attack? And a bear's defense is no weaker than that of the Gooey Goozy. He stopped right in front of the monster and shouted to the creature, "Big and stupid bear." Suddenly, the bear growled loudly and went to attack. Chen screamed, "You clumsy bear." Yes, it has powerful armor, but this does not mean that the monster's defense is as strong in other places. They rushed at each other. Chen, with a deft movement, avoided the blow and caused serious damage to the monster, reducing the creature's health by 250 points, thanks to his sword and deft efforts, and a moment later the bear lay on the ground, being struck. Chen grinned and said, "And it's true that compared to his more protected back, his belly resembles soft tofu." Suddenly the bear stood up, saw a bloody wound on his body, became very frightened, turned around and looked ominously at Chen, who spoke, and now, having identified the weakness of this creature, he will immediately overcome it. The monster jumped up and Chen became alert and shouted in surprise, "What kind of trick is this?" A bear with an iron back, curled up in a ball, rolls straight onto a broken spear, sinking in the sand. He jumps to the side and Lu Chen notes that it was close. The bear rolls towards him again and Chen, daring, thinks he is ready to do it again. Then the spear, sinking in the sand, swings his sword and Lu Chen says that the bear can approach. Then the broken spear strikes and then Chen screams, "Now it must stop." The sword comes into contact with the iron back of the bear and bright sparks fly to the sides. Lu Chen is surprised to note that the rotation is very strong. A bear with an iron back flies right over a broken spear, sinking in the sand, and Chen exclaims in irritation, "It should have opened by now." The bear lands on the ground and lumps of dirt fly to the sides. Lu Chen realizes that it uses rotation to not only deliver a strong attack, but also protect a large area of the body. He can't continue like this. Obviously, this will lead to nothing. Then the bear rises and looks angrily at the spear, sinking in the sand. Then it rises on its hind legs and roars loudly. At that moment, a broken spear, sinking in the sand, flies up to the bear and Chen exclaims, "It has opened." This is a great opportunity. The bear grins and stretches its paw towards him, but dodges the spear and clutches the sword tightly. Lu Chen exclaims, "Since it's ready, now it's her turn." After this, the spear, sinking in the sand, inflicts a blow on the bear with an iron back, which takes away 560 health points from it. The bear growls menacingly and strikes back. Spear, sinking in the sand, flies to the side, but Chen notes that now is the time. Its counterattacks are too fast. The iron bear lifts its paws off the ground with its back and rises into the air. Spear looks at this and Lu Chen asks, "Does the bear still want to meet his sword?" A bear with an iron back tries to hit him with its paws, but the broken spear, sinking in the sand, air flies up and Lu Chen exclaims, "Well, since it suggests itself." Then the broken spear swings his sword and Chen shouts that he has already figured out the bear's weak points. He just needs to hit the exact center of its spine. This way it can no longer curl up into a ball. With these words, a broken spear, sinking in the sand, lands on the bear's back and strikes. This blow takes away 630 health points. The bear with an iron back screams in pain, and the broken spear plunges the sword into the back even more. But suddenly he notices something. The bear stops growling, but rises on its hind legs and grins menacingly. The broken spear, sinking in the sand, slides off the iron back and Lu Chen notes that it is very tenacious. He inflicted serious injury on the bear, and it was still able to get up. Then the spear flies closer to the animal's muzzle and Chen asks, "Will it try to fight back again?" "Well, no, it's just a big and stupid bear." With these words, a broken spear, sinking in the sand, sticks a sword into the bear's eye. This blow takes away 980 health points from the iron-backed bear. It screams in pain. Then an information window appears with a hint. The system congratulates the broken spear, sinking in the sand, for completing the mission Iron-Backed Bear. He can go to Hanbin for his reward. He is successfully promoted to level 15. The broken spear jumps off the bear, who has already fallen to the ground. Next to him appears a skull, a protective form for the legs, a gem, and a mask. A broken spear sinking in the sand sees Lu Chen, joyfully exclaiming how much loot he managed to collect. An increase in level, a large magic stone, and even equipment are very generous items for defeating the bear with an iron back. First, he needs to put on his equipment. Even though leather protection is not as good as armored protection, on average at least the agility indicators increase. A broken spear sinking in the sand puts on equipment and an information window appears. It notifies that these are knee pads made of bearskin. They belong to the Blackstone. 7 is added to defense, 6 is added to magic resistance, and 2 are added to agility. The required level for this is 15th. After this, a window appears with the character's characteristics. Among the main attributes, vitality was increased to 275, mana was increased to 255, and agility was increased to 11. Among the additional attributes, physical defense increased to 40, movement speed increased to 27, magic resistance increased to 25, attack speed increased to 27. Broken a spear, sinking in the sand, holds a mask in his hands, and Lu Chen exclaims joyfully, "This is a super practical thing. This will help a lot with camouflage. By wearing this mask, he will be able to safely leave Hanbin." The information window explains that Patrolman Shaq disguised his face with a mask and his body with special clothing, which allowed him to hide perfectly in the human camp. After some time, a broken spear, sinking in the sand, reaches Hanbin. Chen happily turns to the leader of the Night Spirit Patrol Squad, Fek, and notes that he has completed the task. But suddenly, he looks ahead and Chen notes in confusion, oh, so he's not alone. Then he can complete as many as 2 tasks so as not to run back and forth. At this time, he is playing Go with the swordsman of Death Shern. Fak turns to him and explains that he has known Shern for over 500 years, and they often play Go. After this, a broken spear, sinking in the sand, approaches him and holding the skull in his hands, Chen explains that this is the skull of Shaq. Fak agrees, yes, this is the skull of the younger brother. He then gives Shern the pouch and Lu Chen explains that these are phalanxes. He exclaims that the guy is a real good fellow. Chen then accesses the system and orders it to save his reward. Then an information window appears, and the system congratulates him on completing the Iron Skull mission. He earned 2200 experience points and 21 reputation points. He receives a Blackstone reward. The system also congratulates him on completing the Bone Fingers mission. He earns 2000 experience points and 20 reputation points, and receives a Blackstone as a reward. And at the end, the system congratulates him on his promotion to level 16. Gloves appear on the hands of a broken spear sinking in the sand, and a fan appears in his right hand. Chen notes that this is great. All he needs to do to complete his uniform is to put on his boots and arm protection. At this moment, an information window appears, which notifies that the green leather gloves belong to the Blackstone. 5 is added to his attack, 40 is added to his vitality, and 5 is added to his agility. The required level for this is 15th. After this, the information window explains that the Kingguang fan is a black stone. The attack of this is from 15 to 24. Vitality is added by 10. Maneuverability is added by 1. The required level for this is 15th. After this, the information window reveals the character's characteristics. Among the main attributes, agility was increased to 16. Among additional attributes, attack became from 36 to 53, movement speed increased to 32, reputation increased to 48, attack speed increased to 32. A broken spear sinking in the sand carefully examines the fan and Lu Chen thinks, here there's just one more thing. After this, he turns to Shorn and explains that the fan is a weapon for advisors. He doesn't know how to use it, can he exchange it? Death Swordsman Shorn explains that mission rewards cannot be exchanged. But there is one merchant. You can go to his floating ice bridge market, but they, the Eidolons, greet me there. Then Chen clarifies that the Eidolons are not welcomed. Then you can use the mask. After some time, a broken spear, sinking in the sand, walks along the trading market of the floating ice bridge. Lu Chen notes that the mask works so well that no one suspected anything. And he calmly exchanged the fan for a pair of shoes and 11 silver coins. How much he earned this time? The information window notifies that among the main attributes, vitality has increased to 355. Among the additional attributes, physical strength has increased to 48, magic resistance has increased to 29. Suddenly, the spear stops in surprise. A thug, an unshakable level 17 mad dragon, rides past him on a cart and attacks him. A broken spear sinking in the sand reflects the blow, and Lu Chen exclaims in bewilderment, "Then is he like that?" A level 17 mad dragon explains that his reaction speed is as fast as rumored. He was able to block his attack. Suddenly, Chen exclaims in fear, "One moment." He doesn't understand who the unshakable crazy dragon is talking to. He's probably mistaken. At this moment, he thinks that the unshakable mad dragon is a member of the Mad Dragon Guild. How could he expose him? Then he gets off the cart and, pointing to his blade, notes that even though the broken spear is sinking in the sand and hidden behind the mask, his blade is easily recognizable. Lu Chen understands that he forgot about it. But suddenly the dragon points to the broken spear with his hand and loudly exclaims that he is paying 50,000 coins for the head of this guy in the mask. He guarantees payment by the reputation of the Mad Dragon Guild. Lu Chen yells at him to stop. This is an extremely sneaky trick, but the unshakable Mad Dragon exclaims that he does not care about the means to achieve the goal. At this moment, he shouts that he will pay 50,000 coins and will give out a weapon made of black stone. After that, everyone starts standing behind him, ready to do it. He turns to the spear and exclaims that it was a piece of cake. Now he must prepare to die. The broken spear, sinking in the sand, also takes a fighting pose, and Lu Chen asks, "Does the dragon want to kill him with all this pack?" This is very funny. The unshakable Mad Dragon looks at him and frowns confidently, thinking that he wants to attack first. But suddenly the broken spear turns sharply, runs away, and Chen says goodbye to them. He sees this and wonders what. This trick won't work for him. After this, the dragon makes a call and announces that most likely the broken spear will go to Hanbin. He will delay him, and the man must immediately assemble the first and second battle groups and set up an ambush in the canyon. The man explains that the battle group is temporarily out of action. The dragon hears this and exclaims again, "What?" The man explains that 2nd Lieutenant Fengxi, Huangxiang, attacked the headquarters. The commander-in-chief sent all battle groups to search for her. The dragon notes with disappointment that he did not have time to solve one problem before she added another one. After that, he goes after the broken spear, sinking in the sand, and shouts for the guild to deal with it, and he will deal with the broken spear alone. After some time, a broken spear, sinking in the sand, arrives at the Hanbin pine forest. Looks around, and Lu Chen reasons that after passing through the pine and cypress forests, he will be able to run to the safe territory of Hanbin. Suddenly, out of concern, he turns to the side, when at that moment an unshakable mad dragon attacks him. The broken spear repels his attack, and Chen annoyedly asks what he wants. Why is he chasing him? The dragon explains that his existence has a huge impact on the reputation of the Mad Dragon's Guild. He must die. Then Lu Chen asks what about him. The dragon frowns at the broken spear and mentally notes that he is going to use his skills. The next moment, a broken spear, sinking in the sand with the help of a blade, tries to attack him with an energy wave, but the unshakable Mad Dragon dodges and exclaims, "Bye." Chen asks in bewilderment, "What?" Suddenly, a broken spear looks carefully behind the dragon's back and asks, "What is he doing here?" The unshakable Mad Dragon turns around and clarifies, Is there someone behind him?" Turning around, he exclaims, "Orion." He stands and holds a huge wolf by the neck. He then looks at the broken spear and makes a mental note that that masked guy looks very familiar. This equipment and this long green sword remind him of someone. Suddenly, he exclaims he must fall through the ground. Orion sends an energy wave in his direction and exclaims they haven't seen each other for a long time. But the broken spear, sinking in the sand, responds to the attack, and Lu Chen irritably notes, has another sticky one appeared. Orion greets right at the broken spear and exclaims he missed him so much. Chen tells him to stay away from him. He didn't miss him at all. After this, Orion tries to attack him, but the broken spear, sinking in the sand, jumps to the side. The dragon watches what is happening and thinks, so they don't like each other. Great. After this, he shouts to Orion. He offers the two of them to kill him. But Orion deals him a fatal blow and exclaims, "No." In the last moment before death, the dragon thinks in bewilderment, but why? Aren't they each other's enemies? After that, he falls to the ground. Orion towers over him and explains that in a battle between strong rivals, a third, and even a weakling, is of no use to them. The dragon finally says that he is a freak. The Mad Dragon will not forgive him for this. After this, the information window announces that the player Unshakable Mad Dragon has been killed. Orion looks at him with contempt and thinks, who is this unshakable crazy dragon? And how dare he threaten him? After that, he turns to the broken spear and notes, well, the bug is over, it's time for him to get back to fighting. Lu Chen immediately exclaims, who would want to fight him? He's so disgusting. Orion pays no attention to these words and exclaims he has reached level 15. He then charges straight towards the broken spear and asks if he must have gotten stronger. But Chen again asks with irritation, does this freak even hear him? Then the broken spear, sinking in the sand, dodges the attack, and Lu Chen wonders if his speed has increased. Victory is not far away. The next moment, the broken spear rushes straight towards Orion, and he exclaims in bewilderment, what? A broken spear hits him and takes away 128 health points. After that, he swings again and strikes him again. With this blow, he already takes away 396 health points. Orion exclaims in bewilderment how fast he is. Then a broken spear, sinking in the sand, kicks and takes away 18 health points. Orion flies into a tree and exclaims, why? All the free points went into dexterity, so why doesn't it still work? Suddenly, a broken spear approaches him, and he exclaims in fear, things are bad. He is very scared. A broken spear, sinking in the sand, rushes past, striking. This blow takes away 618 health points from Orion. He then stops in front of him. The tree breaks in half, and the information window announces that the player Orion has been killed. Lu Chen notes that it was a piece of cake. But the next moment, Orion appears again behind the broken spear, and the information window reveals that the player Orion has been resurrected. A broken spear, sinking in the forest, turns around and Chen thinks in bewilderment he was resurrected too quickly. Does he want to continue the fight? Orion notes that he killed him very quickly the second time. This is incredible. But then he points his hand at him and shouts that he must answer for this. Is his name at the end of the Hall of Fame list? Chen wonders with concern, has he been found out? Then he asks loudly, what is it? By killing him again, will he go to jail for glory? But Orion suddenly shouts that he caused him an illusion when he returned from the attack with lightning speed, stepping back, and then returning to his original position. Only a candle shadow can do this. Lu Chen shouts back that he is not a candle shadow. Besides, his name is not even in the Hall of Fame now. Hearing this, Orion exclaims, impossible. No, this can't be. He won't lose to some player of the same level with lower equipment than him. A broken spear sinking in the sand squints, and Lu Chen wonders, is this impossible? He then remembers what happened backstage at Jiang Wushuang Arena. He sat on the thresholds and heard the knight ask the dark-haired guy who he thought would remain in the finals. The guy immediately exclaims, of course, with Eternal Day. He's a Hall of Famer. He has a high level, a full set of artifacts, and he is the only one who owns the powerful Crimson Balrog weapon. But the knight does not agree. Lu Chen is just a kid who came from another game. He has a low level, and he only has a magic sword in his hands. Even if he was lucky enough to reach the finals, he could not defeat the Candle Shadow. Chen hears this and asks with a frown he can't win. After a while, he raises the magic sword up, and the presenter congratulates Lu Chen on his victory over the battle god Shadow Candle. Chen exclaims that nothing is impossible. Orion asks in bewilderment, what? Then Lu Chen also asks, does the player's level decide everything? Orion again asks in bewilderment, what? But he immediately shouts that leveling up by killing monsters is not everything. He reaches a high level just to become invincible, and his true enemies are other players. If he lacks determination with others at his level, then he should give up as soon as possible. Orion hears this and screams, from which he got the idea that he has no resolve to fight. Chen reasons what's wrong. When someone lost to an opponent whose artifacts and level were lower, and then used the excuse that the opponent was simply a member of the Hall of Fame. But when he realized that this was not so, he became very angry. Orion immediately shouts that this is a lie. After this, the broken spear, sinking in the sand, leaves and bids him farewell with a gesture. Orion shouts after him that he must stop. He must stop now. He lost to him only because he was sick. Lu Chen hears this and notes how stubborn he is. Orion continues to shout that he will not give up, even if he falls through the ground. He will definitely defeat him, even if he is not the god of battle Candle Shadow. The broken spear, thin in the sand, continues to leave, and Chen tells him that he will look forward to that day, but he'd better go back and rewatch his video, and he was not feeling well, and there is something wrong with the weapon. Orion immediately repeats 5 times in a row that that battle was simply unsuccessful. Meanwhile, Gunsugu sits at the computer and exclaims that the used helmet has reduced his speed. Okay, since he is here, he will watch that video. Is he right, or is there something wrong with his equipment? The next moment he watches the video in surprise and wonders what it is. The video shows that Orion's health level is less than half. Then Gongsugu immediately understands, but isn't he an idiot? After defeating the monster, he had only a third of his health left, and being weak, he decided to throw himself on the broken spear. Free points have been added to agility, but this is not enough. You won't be able to catch up with your opponent, it's all to no avail. Now he will have to look for more points for defense. The clock shows that it is now 6:40 a.m. Gu puts the phone to his face and exclaims that the more he looks at it, the more it seems to him that he is not human. Then he gets up from the computer and goes to the whiteboard and picks up a marker. Gu concentrates and exclaims that he can't miss anything. After some time, he writes on the board that the broken spear is level 16. Its advantage is speed, probably at a very high level. Combat strength, which is a bonus from free points. The attack defense is in balance. This defense is extremely strong. Orion has reached level 19. He is an undead warrior. Its benefits include enhanced protection and health. Protection lies in the equipment, but this is a small advantage. In the first fight, he lost in 11 minutes. His attack with a spear delays the blow. If it misses, the enemy will deal him a fatal blow. The opponent uses a block and then a counterattack. In the second fight, Orion lost in 11 seconds. When attacking, the enemy hit him in the chest with a long sword, then followed by a kick, and finally decapitated the enemy with a sword. Gu considers what he wrote and thinks about it, and it gives you the best result, but there are still many shortcomings. The monster couldn't kill him even if it found flaws, but a broken spear could. All he can do is defend himself. Therefore, he can only rely on his defense and counterattack tactics, expecting that sooner or later the broken spear will reveal his shortcomings. Thinking about this, he immediately exclaims joyfully, yes, this should work. Then Gunsugu sits down at the computer and joyfully thinks that his broken spear is waiting for defeat. At this time, in the Hanbin residential area, coffins are placed on the ground in even rows. An information box explains that this is the burial site of the Eidolon race. Being in a coffin helps relieve the fatigue of Eidolon warriors. A broken spear, sinking in the sand, comes to the burial site and yawns. Lu Chen says that he is falling apart, he has not slept all night. After this, the broken spear approaches one of the open coffins and climbs inside. Chen notes that he can lie down here for now. At that moment, Orion flies at him from above. He lands and, hitting the coffin, shouts that a broken spear, a drowning man should not even think about escaping. Lu Chen immediately shouts angrily, is he sick? How can he make noise here and destroy coffins? But Orion points a spear at him and exclaims that he studied the video in detail and found a way to kill him. Won't he lose this time? Chen asks in bewilderment, what? He thinks he's studying the video. Does he see right through it? Then the broken spear goes to attack and Lu Chen shouts, then he should try something. Orion also heads towards him and they collide. There is a big explosion. After a moment, the information window announces that the Orion player has been defeated. A broken spear sinking in the sand sits on a gravestone and drinks an elixir. Orion lies on the ground next to him. Lu Chen points out that he actually found the right way to defend and counterattack, but he still lost. The next moment, the information window announces that the player Orion has been resurrected. He gets up and laughingly exclaims that this time he was able to hold out for a full 18 minutes. Then he turns to the broken spear and exclaims, now he must come here. They begin the battle and the information window begins to announce, the Orion player has been defeated. Player Orion is resurrected. He insists and shouts that they must fight again. Then the information window again announces that the player Orion has been defeated. Orion player level up to level 17. Player Orion is resurrected. He doesn't let up and continues to shout again that he is ready to fight some more. The information window also notifies that the Orion player has been defeated. Player Orion is resurrected. He continues to scream, more, more. A broken spear sinking in the sand breaks his weapon, and Lu Chen asks in bewilderment what's wrong with him. Orion descends to the 15th level and tries to answer something. But suddenly a broken spear, sinking in the sand, grabs him by the throat and Chen screams for him to wake up. He is not his free sparring partner.